Stories number 1. My husband and I were walking in our neighborhood when a man stopped us in front of his house and claimed my husband was having an affair with his wife. My 62F husband, 59M, who I'll call Jay, have been together for 26 years, married for 25. He is one of the most wonderful people I know. I had a very rough, dysfunctional, abusive childhood. It took years of therapy and tons of support from Jay to get to the other side and really learn how to love and trust. I also have ADHD, OCD, and suffer from severe anxiety and PTSD from my traumatic childhood. Jay has always been supportive and actually maintained a great sense of humor, especially with my ADHD. He actually was the one who suggested looking into a diagnosis I was diagnosed about. 10 years ago we met when my daughter, 34, T, was 8 years old. I had been a single mom, so T and I are very close. We went to family counseling right after we married his suggestion, because we wanted to assure we integrated our family and learned how to do that with steps. To say that it has been amazing is an understatement. Jay and T love each other so much. It took a while, but we really worked at it. I tell you all of this to give a brief glimpse of why I trust Jay implicitly. We have gone through so much together. There were times that I thought that there was no way he was going to stay, that this would be the straw that broke the camel's back. But he has never left my side. When this man stopped us, he asked my husband was having an affair with his wife. Both this man and his wife are well into their 80s. We thought he was joking at first, and both of us started laughing. We then realized that he was serious. At first he tried to say that it occurred during lockdown for COVID while I was at work. I told him that that was impossible because I am a teacher and taught remotely from home. For over a year we asked him why he thought this was occurring, and he said that his wife, who is in late stages of Alzheimer's, confessed to him. We asked if he knew a time frame when this supposedly occurred, as we have motion cameras around our house. Yeah, I am very paranoid, and we could get footage so he could see that his wife has never been to our home. He said he didn't know and couldn't ask her due to the Alzheimer's. This whole thing was so surreal, I was furious. I told him there was no way this happened and my husband would never purposely hurt me. He said that's what all people say when confronted. There was a lot more back and forth, but he refused to back down, even though there was absolutely no evidence other than a confession from a woman in late stages of Alzheimer's. I am not naive, nor am I blind. There are 0 red flags. My husband treats me so well and we do everything together. I 100% believe this so-called affair never occurred. My question is, what do I do now? Do I get a restraining order to assure he stays away from us? Of all the crazy that has happened in my life, this has got to top the list. Am I wrong to want to get a restraining order against an 80-year-old man? Relevant comments. Commenter. 1. I mean, do you need a restraining order? You were in front of his house, right? Did he threaten you or say anything to make you think he would bother you? Maybe he is also very confused. Reply, yeah. He told Jay not to go near his property or he would be sorry. We honestly are just worried that he may own a firearm. It's impossible to not go near his property. I don't want my husband hurt. Commenter 2. The thing is, it well could have happened. I was mistaken several times for my ex-GF's grandmother's younger brother when I went to visit with her. It was awkward, but we navigated it even after she threw a minor fit that I was dating my own grandniece, and it was wholly inappropriate and screamed the house down. Alzheimer's chews Swiss cheese holes in the cerebellum, and to cope with it, the mind patches inconvenient identities and fills in the gaps. Edit. Yes, I am aware this is not accurate in a strictly technical or medical sense. It's called a metaphor. People, human minds are fragile, and we stretch and borrow to cover up holes in our memories. Yeesh. His wife might well have had an affair 20 years past or more, and the OP's husband might have looked like that man and replaced the identities, and her husband, hurt and wounded, confronted them because even though he knows that it's not the OP's husband, but he can't not, because not only is he absolutely wounded by the confession but also that he knows it isn't his wife's lover, or even that his wife had an affair. But this is the only way he can cope with her dementia. What a truly awful situation for all of them. The OP, her husband, the accuser, and his wife. There's just no good side here. Everything sucks here. But nobody does. Reply, we were discussing this. Afterwards, I really am ignorant about the effects of Alzheimer's, but I thought that perhaps this could be the case. My husband works from home. During lunch, he takes laps around the neighborhood and thinks, maybe that is where she saw him. Commenter. 3. My grandfather had Alzheimer's that caused him to believe things that never happened. He didn't understand that it wasn't true because he remembered going through it. This is one of the few times I'd say to let it slide. If you see the man again, just say that you looked through all of your camera footage, alerts, and there was nothing suspicious. You can't say for sure she didn't cheat, but you can say it wasn't with your husband. Reply, yeah, I like this idea. He must be so lonely. And then to be dealing with this, I think he wants to believe her cause that would mean she's normal again. And remembering things. Even if they are bad things, date first. I am reading all of the comments and taking them to heart. I read all of the time people thanking the Reddit community for their help and insight. And that is not a lie. You all have shared your stories and really educated me about these horrible disorders. I never realized how horrendous Alzheimer's and dementia are, and not only how they affect the person with the disorder, but the devastation this has on those that love them. You have helped to understand how this man and his wife need our compassion and grace. I did speak with a person in the neighborhood. I was worried about getting anyone involved officially because, as many pointed out, this could cause more harm than good. She assured me that they do have children and friends that do check on them, but she actually has not seen them around a lot lately. She will reach out to them next. I was walking around our neighborhood. Some people suggested that I do not walk by their house, but that would be impossible. Think of like a thermometer shape. It is a long street with a cul-de-sac at the end, but in the middle is this big island with 5 houses on it. Anyway, at one point the gentleman knocked on his window and pulled the top down. He asked to speak with me. I said that may not be the best idea, as he essentially accused my husband of a horrendous crime. He said he would only take a few minutes, and it was not something bad. I told him I would not go on his property, and I actually backed up to the middle of the street. He asked if I would be okay with his going into his porch, and I said yes. He immediately apologized. He said my husband's demeanor was what made him realize that there was not any truth to what his wife said. He said what many of you have told me about Alzheimer's, and he realized what his wife told him could not have occurred. I told him that I was so happy that he realized this because after all I had learned in the last 12 hours, it was breaking my heart that this may be the last memory he had of the person he spent almost his whole life with. He thanked me, so I am thanking all of you that made me realize compassion. And grace should be the go-to. We actually then had a nice conversation. Altogether talked about 15-ish minutes. He asked me to apologize to my husband for him. I told him I would, and we said, see you later. He had a really big smile on his face. Again, I do not think that his would have ended this way without all of your input. Even those of you that called me a care. That's okay, I used to teach at a behavioral school. I've been called worse. Stories number 2. My 20.5 boss, best friends, 45F only son, 22 Amir passed last week. Am pregnant with her son? I'm having mixed emotions in this whole situation. I feel like a traitor, like I stabbed her in the back for sleeping with her son. At the same time I really cared about him, and I loved him. I wanted a family with him, and we were seeing each other for about 9 months officially already. I've known her for a little over 2 years, and she's helped me get on my feet. I work for her business, and I now manage all the employees. I started off living in my car, and she gave me a place to stay while I made some money to find an apartment. After that, she started giving me more work, and even started giving me some work at her home. She trusts me completely, and I guess I broke that trust by seeing her son without her permission. I have mixed feelings because I did things the wrong way, but at the same time I treated her son like a king, and I know he was happy with me before he left. She has no idea about our relationship we had, and we were going to tell her, but life took a bad turn. I know he left before his time because he had many great things coming, and now I have to raise our child with him absent. When is the right time for me to go tell her the truth, and that she's going to be a grandmother? I love her, and I don't want this to hurt her more. TLDR. My best friend's son passed away in an accident, was secretly seeing him, and I'm having his baby in a couple of months. Edit. I forgot to clear things up. She knows I'm pregnant. She just doesn't know who the father is. These comments really aren't super helpful. If I could trade my life for his, I would. I'm only willing to live on for my baby now, but I have nothing else for me, edit. 2. I talked with her last night after we had dinner. I apologized for hiding it from her and I told her I didn't want any money or anything from her. I just wanted her to be able to enjoy her time with her grandchild. I was honest with her on how our relationship started and how much I loved her son. She had her doubts about it and told me she knew something was up between us two. But she didn't say anything because she wasn't sure and she didn't want to make assumptions. She was very upset at first and told me I should have never hid things from her and that she would have accepted us together if she knew my intentions were clean and I wouldn't hurt her. Son, I showed her pictures of us together, places we went, our messages, and she broke down crying. She looked very upset and I genuinely thought she was going to hit me because it looked like she was about to slap me. She asked me to leave and give her some space. I left home and she called me at midnight and asked if I could come back and spend some time with her. We finished talking and I offered her to take a DNA test so she could see it's her grandchild. She believed me on what I said, but she told me I should have never hid things from her because now she regrets not being able to support us since the beginning. She kept asking to hold my stomach and feel her grandchild, and she told me she would be there for the baby. I told her I would leave work and leave her alone if she didn't want to see me anymore, but she told me no, to stay and keep on moving forward how we were before. I apologized a dozen times, and she told me she was happy that she still at least has a part of her son in me. She's been very emotional and she's just been wanting to feel her grandchild. And she has been nice to me. I just assured her I treated her son with respect and that I was very loving with him. Hopefully she is still accepting of the whole situation in the long run. Commenter 1. I'm sorry for your loss and for hers and for your child who will grow up without its father. Her son was old enough to make his own life choices without his mom's permission. However, it is kind of messy to secretly date your boss's child. I would tell her that you lied to her about not knowing who the baby's father was because you were scared about her reaction, and you need to apologize for that. Tell her that you would be glad to give her some space and time to process, and that you're hoping that she will eventually be excited to be a grandmother, even though it's a lot to process right now. Commenter 2. Wow, this is a heck of a situation and I'm sorry for your loss. Honestly, I'm not sure what the root problem was for her. She clearly respected and cared for both her child and you. Logically, I would think that she would be relieved and happy to have a grandchild from her recently lost son. But I don't know all the details here. You might as well let her know now, assuming you're far enough along in the pregnancy to communicate that ideally, the two of you can work as a team, as I'm sure that's what her son would have wanted. Reply: I hope she's happy about it. I love her and I loved her son so much. If she would have approved, I think I would have married him eventually. It's been tough, but I at least know I'll have a reminder from him. And yeah, I am more than halfway along the pregnancy. I just have been holding his mother off on knowing he's the father. She's excited for my pregnancy, she knows that, but she doesn't know it's his baby. Commenter 3. Do you know why she didn't want the two of you together? Outside of her resistance, this seems like a good situation initially. Reply: she didn't actually say that ever. I just thought he was off limits since I'm her best friend and that's her son. Commenter 4. Oh my gosh, that's even better. You might be in a situation where an awful scenario can be given a silver lining by just using some direct communication. Update: I know it has been a while, and I just wanted to give some closure. I probably won't use this account again, and I am trying to get through the hundreds of messages I got. It was really hard at first. I didn't really get a chance to grieve for him, and I still miss him. I had my baby, but it wasn't easy and there were some complications, and I almost lost him. Now my baby is healthy and he resembles his father so much. He honestly doesn't look like me much compared to his dad. Along the way of all this, my friend had her times where she would randomly go off on me and be upset, but I get why and I forgave her. After that, she has been nothing but supportive. She was there for me when my son was born, and she cried so much the first few days. She has been offering me to live with her since she wants the baby close to her, but I have declined to show her I really am not just after her money. She always wants the baby, and honestly she is such a help at work because she is always holding him or has him in her office with her while I am working, and I don't need to find a babysitter to trust. She spoils him and buys any baby supplies I need, and I am so grateful. I just really miss her son. I can't ever sleep at night knowing he won't ever get to meet the little baby he and I made. Together I just want to cry every time I think about him. And it's hard. Seeing how hard my son resembles him, how can I thank her for being so wonderful to me and her grandchild? I love her so much, and I still feel for the way things happened between us. Commenter. Just go up to her and say thank you. Reply. I thank her every day. But I don't think it's enough. Commenter 2. It is. You're good. You don't need to go overboard because she's not doing it out of obligation. She's coming from a place of love. Love for you, for the baby, and also for her son. If this situation calls for anything, a thinking of you gift would be appropriate. Thought you'd like a coffee, so I got you one as well. And just show up for her as best you can. But it sounds like you're doing that. It takes a village, you know? You're very lucky to have one another. I wish you love in your time of healing. Commenter 3. Having her grandson when she's lost her son, and letting her be in the baby's life is really all she wants or needs. I'm sure she is just as thankful to you. Commenter 4. Maybe you could write her a heartfelt letter in a really nice thank you card with some flowers. I know I've treasured the nice letters I've gotten. When my mom passed, I found a collection of special cards with notes she'd gotten. It wasn't all of them, but just the ones that were the most meaningful in the future. Just make sure you get her gifts for Christmas, birthday, and above all else, Mother's Day. Especially if your ex was an only child, make sure you and baby invite her to a special outing on Mother's Day. I'm sure the first few will be really hard, and she may be more sad than seem like she's enjoying herself. But power through. I know you may feel like you are not getting a Mother's Day taking care of her, but she's making every day easier for you. So I'd do it. Stories number 3. My dad wants me to pay for his new wife's kids' college after I promised to cover my siblings. I'm 28F. Working in tech, I've been fortunate that my career took off early. I make good money. Not retire tomorrow rich, but I've had more financial stability in my 20s than my dad ever did in his whole life. Growing up, money was always a stressor. My dad, Mark, worked blue-collar jobs, sometimes 2 at a time, but it never quite added up. My mom passed away when I was 16, and from then on it was just me, my younger brother Ryan, now 19, and my younger sister Emily, now 17 after mom's death. I sort of became the default adult in the house. Even though I was still a teenager, I was the one helping with homework, making sure bills got paid on time, covering things like prom dresses and sports fees when Dad couldn't. I don't resent it exactly. I love my siblings more than anything, but it definitely forced me to grow up fast by the time I got to college myself. I promised Ryan and Emily one thing. When your time comes, I will make sure you can go to school without the crushing debt I had to take on. It was a vow I repeated every chance I got. I started a savings account specifically for them. Every bonus, every tax refund, every freelance gig. A piece of it went into the college fund. I even told them, point blank, your education is covered, don't stress. Fast forward to now, Ryan is in his first year of college, Emily is applying. The timing is here, and I've kept my word. But here's where it gets messy. Last year, my dad remarried his new wife. Linda, 36F, is nice enough in a surface-level way, though I wouldn't say we're close. She has 2 kids of her own, Jason, 16, and Chloe, 15. They seem like good kids, but I barely know them. They live mostly with their dad and come over sometimes on weekends. 2 weeks ago, Dad and Linda invited me over for dinner. About halfway through the meal, Dad cleared his throat and gave me this whole speech about family blending together and new beginnings. Then he dropped the bomb. We think it would be really fair if the college money you've been saving could be split among all 4 kids, instead of just Ryan and Emily. Thought he was joking. I laughed. He didn't. I said, wait, what? Linda jumped in, all sugary sweet. They're all family now. It would mean so much to Jason and Chloe to feel included. Love makes a family, right? I put my fork down and said as calmly as I could, I promised that money to Ryan and Emily. I've been saving for them since I was 19 years old. I can't just slice it in half. Dad's face got red. He said I was being selfish, that I was picking favorites and punishing Linda's kids for not being my blood. He brought up how he always provided for me even when things were hard, and now I had the chance to give back to all the kids. I said, you're not asking me to give back. You're asking me to rewrite a promise I made to my siblings who have depended on it for years, Ryan and Emily. When they heard about this, were livid. Ryan called me and said, "Please don't let him take this away from us. I planned my school around your help," Emily cried, saying she felt like her future was being stolen. Linda, on the other hand, keeps sending me cheery little texts like, "We just want everyone to feel equal and loved. College is so expensive these days, and you're in such a good position to help. It would be selfish not to." Here's the thing. I don't hate Jason and Chloe. It's not their fault. But I never made them a promise. I did make one to Ryan and Emily. And frankly, the idea that I should just expand my financial responsibility because my dad got remarried feels absurd. My dad is now barely speaking to me, except to send the occasional guilt-trippy message about how money shouldn't come before family. My stepmom says I'm making her kids feel like outsiders. My siblings are firmly on my side, but they're scared that Dad will somehow force the issue. So that's where I am, torn between what I know is right, keeping my promise, and the family pressure to be fair. I honestly don't know if standing my ground makes me the villain in this story update. I didn't expect my original post to blow up the way it did. I mostly just needed to scream into the void, because I felt like I was being gaslit into believing I was the bad guy for not writing a blank check for kids I barely know. Well, a lot has happened since then. After the dinner where Dad and Linda asked me to split the fund, I figured maybe it was one of those conversations you just let simmer and people cool off. Wrong. Dad doubled down. He called me the next day and said, "We'll talk about it again on Sunday. I expect you to think about what's fair." That word fair has been haunting me. I ended up going over to his house that Sunday because I didn't want to drag this out. Ryan came too, which turned out to be a blessing because having him there kept me from doubting myself. We sat at the kitchen table, and Dad immediately launched into a speech about how we're one family now, and how me refusing to share the college money is drawing lines where there shouldn't be any. Linda sat there nodding along like she was the damn choir. I let him talk. Then I asked him point blank, "Did you ever, at any point, contribute to the fund I've been saving for Ryan and Emily?" He looked uncomfortable and said no, but that it didn't matter because we're all family. Then I asked, "Did Jason or Chloe ever sit in front of me and hear me promise to cover their tuition? Did they ever ask me? Did I ever say yes?" Silence, I told him. "You want me to be the great equalizer here, but the truth is you're projecting your guilt. You didn't save for any of us. I did for Ryan and Emily. And now you want me to fix your mistake by spreading myself thinner. I'm not doing that." Ryan jumped in and said, "Dad, you don't get it. If she splits the money, I'll have to drop out." "You didn't save, she did. She's the only reason I'm even in school." Dad didn't like being confronted by both of us. His face got tight and he snapped, "So money means more to you than your family? Got it." I lost it. I said, "No. Dad promises mean more to me than saving your pride. If you want Jason and Chloe to have a college fund, start one. Get a second job. Sell the boat you bought last summer, but don't you dare ask me to break a promise I've been keeping since I was 19. That was the end of the conversation. I walked out shaking. Ryan followed me. Dad didn't even try to stop us. Later that night, I got a long text from Linda saying she understands I'm stressed, but that I'm missing the bigger picture. According to her, Jason and Chloe feel like second-class citizens in this blended family, and that my refusal reinforces that. She said she's disappointed in me as a woman, still not sure what that meant, and that someday I'll understand the importance of putting love over money. I didn't respond. The fallout has been nuclear. My dad hasn't spoken to me in over a week. When he does, it's through guilt-trippy Facebook posts about family unity. Linda keeps up her chirpy texts about how it's not too late to do the right thing. Ryan and Emily are terrified Dad will pull some stunt to sabotage the situation. But I told them the account is in my name. No one can touch it. The weirdest part? Jason and Chloe, the supposed beneficiaries of this mess, have not said a word. No texts. No awkward apologies. Nothing. It makes me wonder if they even know how hard their mom and my dad are pushing behind the scenes. I've been venting to friends and coworkers, and the reactions are always the same. That's insane. Stick to your guns. Still, part of me feels like I lit a match to whatever fragile relationship I had with my dad. I keep thinking back to being 16, after Mom died, sitting on the floor with Ryan and Emily and promising them that no matter what happened, I'd have their back. I meant it then, and I mean it now if that makes me the villain in my dad's eyes. Then so be it. Final update. It's been about 2 months since I last posted. And honestly, it feels like years I debated even writing this update, but a lot of you asked for closure, and I think I need it too. After my last update, things stayed icy for a while. Dad wouldn't call. Linda kept sending her weird, do the right thing texts. And Ryan and Emily were just hanging on by a thread, stressed that the money would somehow vanish. But here's the part that surprised me. Jason, 16, and Chloe, 15, finally spoke up. I got a message from Jason out of nowhere on Instagram. It said, "Hey, I just wanted to say I'm sorry about the college thing. Mom and your dad are making it sound like it's your responsibility. But it's not. Me and Chloe know that. Please don't think we expect anything." I swear I almost cried reading that. I replied, and told him none of this was his or Chloe's fault, that I didn't hold anything against them, and that I hoped they wouldn't let the grown-ups' drama mess up how they saw me, Ryan, or Emily. Chloe actually called me a few days later. She was shy but said she didn't want free money from a stranger. Those were her exact words. That gutted me because I realized how much pressure Linda had put on her kids to see me as some sort of cash machine. Chloe is a sweet kid. She just wants to play soccer and hang out with her friends. That call made it clear the kids weren't the issue. It was my dad and Linda manufacturing a sense of injustice. A week after that, Dad invited me over for a serious talk. Ryan begged me not to go, but I decided I needed closure when I got there. It was exactly what I expected. Dad started off with a guilt trip about family loyalty and how he never thought his daughter would turn her back on him. Linda sat there like she was queen of the damn blended family, nodding along with every word. Let him finish. Then I pulled out a binder. Inside were copies of every deposit I've made into the college fund since I was 19, pay stubs from when I worked 2 jobs in college, notes I'd written about Ryan and Emily's goals. I slid it across the table and said, "This is what loyalty looks like. I didn't save this money for you. I saved it for the siblings I promised to protect. If you can't respect that, then maybe it's not me who turned my back on family." Dad didn't even open the binder. He just pushed it back and said, "So this is really it? You're choosing them over me?" And I said, "No, Dad. I'm choosing my word over your guilt." Then I left. Since then, communication has been minimal. He sent a half-hearted apology text a few weeks ago, but it was wrapped in so much defensiveness. "Sorry if you felt pressured." That it didn't mean much. I haven't responded. Ryan is thriving. He just finished his first semester and pulled a 37 GPA. Emily's been touring colleges and lights up every time we talk about her future. That alone makes all of this worth it. As for Jason and Chloe, I've kept a light connection with them. We text occasionally. I told them if they ever need help with applications or scholarships, I'll happily lend an eye. But I'm clear, financial support is for Ryan and Emily. They seemed okay with that, which again proves they were never the problem. I've come to terms with the fact that my relationship with Dad may never be the same. And honestly, that's okay. Parents are supposed to protect their kids, not demand their kids fix decades of bad financial decisions. I've got my siblings' backs. That's all I promised. That's all I'll do. So that's the ending. Messy, bittersweet, but with a little peace. Too, Ryan and Emily will get the futures they deserve. Jason and Chloe won't be punished for their parents' choices, and I won't let guilt rewrite the promise I made all those years ago. Thanks for letting me vent through all of this. Writing it out has been like therapy. Stories number 4. Aita for quitting another extracurricular, because it was another one I couldn't do without my siblings. I 16N'er have a younger sister, 14F, and brother 12N, and they're both on the autism spectrum. My parents think we're not closer because of that, and because I'm ableist, but it's just that I don't want everything to be something we do together. My parents are big on that. They always say family comes first. And whether you've already made plans with someone else or not, doesn't matter. You break any pre-existing plan for your family. And it doesn't matter who else you have plans with or what that plan is. That's something they've forced our whole lives. There were birthday parties they RSVP'd, yes for on my behalf, and then didn't even let the other parents know, and made me stay and spend time with the family. They took my phone off me before because I wanted to tell friends I couldn't meet up with them when I was supposed to be heading to them, because my mom or dad decided we needed a family day, or a sibling day. Other times they said I could have friends over and sent them away, even if they didn't have anyone to pick them up, because my parents suddenly decided I just needed to spend time with my siblings or the family. It made me lose friends because their parents would be like, "Fuck that kid," and his family because my siblings are on the spectrum. My parents take them having outlets that they enjoy very seriously. My sister has piano and violin lessons, and my brother takes drawing and painting classes. My parents spend a fortune on those because they need that. I never got the same. If my parents had to pay for it, I needed to do it with my siblings. They might not tell me that at the start, but it happened that way. Always I tried boxing when I was younger. And my brother, even though he was way too young and not supposed to be in the same group as me, was brought along and dropped off with me, so I quit. When I tried swimming, my sister was brought along and she was put in a different group, but my parents would bring her during my group's time anyway, and told them she was there, so she'd need to be allowed to swim. She never got to join the same group as me, but she was there every time, and my dad fussed about us doing it together. So I quit that. I didn't ask them to pay for more activities for me. I tried talking to my parents, but they got mad at me for not wanting my siblings involved. They said it goes against everything we believe as a family, and I should want to include them in everything, and it's wrong for me to throw stuff away because I'm trying to be antisocial to my siblings. My friend told me his family went to the community center, and they had free activities of different kinds. None of it was as professionally run as the paid stuff, but I wanted to have my own thing. I tried photography, but my parents got my brother to go, and a few weeks ago I tried cooking, but my parents decided both my siblings needed to join in. I quit again, and it pissed my parents off. They said it looked bad being 16 and sticking with nothing, and having no extracurriculars, and how it would close a lot of college doors. I told them I didn't care, because I wanted something for me, not for me to spend time with a sibling. They told me that I was unreasonable, and how people would kill to have a family like mine. They told me I was being a bully, and my siblings would think I hate them. I said I didn't care what they all thought. I said if they can have their own things that are just for them, then I should get it too. I told them I was done trying because nothing would ever be for me. My parents got mad at my attitude toward my siblings and doing stuff with them. So I told them to kick me out because that sounded better than this. Now I'm not allowed to do anything with friends or go anywhere without my siblings or my whole family. And they said it's because I'm being a brat, and a hurtful brat, and that it makes it worse. Comments. Commenter. 2 years from now, parents. Why doesn't OP speak to us or come visit anymore? Do you have any relatives that you could live with or advocate for you? Commenter. 2. What are your parents planning for when you start dating? No one wants to spend all their time with family. Spectrum or not? NTA. Commenter. 3. NTA. Your parents are delusional. What they're doing is alienating you from the whole family. They're literally driving you away. Do you have grandparents or other family you could live with? If not, you're stuck until the day you turn 18. That day you're completely free. Spend the next 2 years planning and preparing. Be creative about ways to make money and save it, where your parents can't get at it. You may have to buy a small safe for your room to protect it. I can guess that you can't have a job. They'd decide family comes first and get you fired. Do what you can do. I hope you can find a solution. 2 years, and then you're out of this nightmare. Reply. You guessed right. Because my parents shut down the idea of me getting a job hard, and they wouldn't just get me fired but would probably ruin any hope of ever working anywhere nearby because of the way they'd react. I don't have other family I could talk to or live with. Commenter. 4. NTA. Your parents seem like real a-holes. While you should appreciate your siblings, that doesn't mean you should have to share everything with them. You should be able to do things on your own. Stories. Number 5. Aita, for being upset that my ex-husband didn't take our divorce the way he took his recent breakup. I 32F was married to Cam 34M for 6 years, and together for 16 years in total, and we also share a daughter. Mia 4FA. Bit of background. I was a SAHM and he worked, but I noticed he was coming home late. He started getting angry a lot, also always on his phone, and to mention I had caught him looking at this girl's Instagram story before, but I didn't think anything of it. Shortly after that I found out he was cheating on me with Sky now. 19F. Yeah, barely legal. When I found out, obviously I was hurt. But I was also completely disgusted that he was cheating and willing to ruin our family for her. I became ASAM when my daughter was born, and we made an agreement that he was in charge of our money, and he would just give me his card to use when if I needed to buy anything. I wasn't making any income except for the money I had before having our daughter, which I kept in my bank account, and I saved it for emergencies. I felt stuck because I didn't know what to do, and for my daughter's sake, I didn't end up leaving up. I had got suspicious, and I went to look for the girl through his followings on Facebook and Instagram. I ended up finding the girl's story he was looking up Instagram, and I just made an assumption that it might have been her, and I shot her a DM. Long story short, she was rude as hell. She had zero remorse and kept on telling me to bother my husband who cheated. Instead of bothering her, she was aware he had a wife and family but didn't care, and even told me that he was paying her tuition. I ended up getting mad and telling her to stay away from my husband, but she just told me she would keep going and it was just fun. After that, I guess she told my husband, and I think he realized that I wasn't leaving. He literally would leave his location on even when he went to her college campus, which really pissed me off because I couldn't see how he was really ruining all we had for some girl who isn't even serious about him and also not even fucking legal to drink yet. Our daughter, Mia, attends ballet and they had a performance. This is what really was my breaking point because our child should always come first. He was out all night long that Friday, and on Saturday was the recital, and obviously he needed to be there for Mia's first recital. I gave him until 11 p.m. Then I finally called him, and guess who picked up the phone? Sky. She told me that he was busy and then hung up, and that was my breaking point. I quickly packed some of mine and Mia's stuff up, and I woke her up so we could go to my mom's house, who didn't live far. So we ended up crashing the night there, as I didn't want him to come back home to us. Nor did I want to see him when I woke up. That was a year ago. Now, we're divorced and I have full custody of Mia, while he has visitation rights. I got a job, saved up, and now in an apartment, and while it's not the best, it's good for me and Mia for the time being. Anyways, after the divorce they ended up getting together for a couple of months. While they were together, he was visiting Mia, but not as often. I'd say like twice a month. To nobody's surprise, she ended up leaving him after a couple of months. But this is where I may be the asshole. Ever since they've broken up, he's been depressed. He drinks a lot, he doesn't eat much. He's always sulking on the couch and just not himself. He comes over more often to see Mia, which is why I know this and I feel away. He's all depressed because she left but didn't have this energy when we divorced after being together for 16 years. When we divorced, he didn't seem to care at all. He was just nonchalant about it and kept messing around with Sky, but now that this girl you were barely with left you're depressed? I know he's going through it, but I can't help but feel a certain way about this. Aita for being upset that my ex-husband didn't take our divorce the way he took his recent breakup. This was in my notes first as I was debating to post this here or not, since my friend recommended it. It's my first time ever posting or even on Reddit. I just needed somewhere to vent to, and advice. Update 1. Nuhan. Aita for being upset that my ex-husband didn't take our divorce the way he took his recent breakup. I'm so overwhelmed right now. I didn't expect this to escalate so quickly, but it did. Firstly, I want to thank everybody who gave me advice. I really appreciate it all. I'm sorry if I took long to reply to comments. I had a busy morning, especially with a 4-year-old who attends preschool and also hates getting up in the morning. A bit of background about their relationship, at least the stuff I know. The divorce happened last year, so at the time Sky was 18. I clarified this in the comments, but I'm gonna say it again. Cam was the one who offered Sky to pay her tuition, and I think he did that to keep her around. After I found out about the divorce, he would come home angry. He would call her names and was mad because she was seeing other guys in college and posting herself going to parties. I don't know how long their affair was. All I know is how they met, at least this is what he told me. Cam told me that they met at a club, and he thought Sky was older, but then she later told him it was a fake ID. Now I don't believe he thought that one bit. Sky screams teenager. I could tell by just one peek at her Instagram. She looks super young, she dresses like a teenager, she has braces with a very youthful, and she types acts just like her age. Cam has visitation rights, and he comes over to see Mia, which I am gonna make arrangements to change that. When he comes over, you could just feel the negative energy coming in with him, by his attitude and the way he looks. While Mia is occupied, that's when he vents to me about Sky, which I don't know why the hell he does. I will admit I'm stupid as I don't say anything. I just let him talk. I pretty much ignore him when he's here. Like he doesn't exist, while he would vent randomly. But let me tell you guys what just happened. And I'm literally so pissed. My baby gets out of preschool at 2:30 usually. My mom would pick her up, but I got to leave early and her ballet practice is at 4 p.m. While during the ballet practice you could either leave your kid there or you can stay in the practice with them. One of my closet girlfriend's daughter also attends the class and I needed to get groceries for our meals. So with her permission, I left out for a bit. My guess is that Cam gave Sky my number because I genuinely don't see how else she could get it. Anyways, long story short, she has Reddit, and she came across my post and was pissed about it. Guys, no joke. This little girl and her friends was spamming my phone with calls. She would call me and say horrible things, and then next I would get another call from somebody else who would say other stuff. This happened about 7 times. The 2 first times, admittedly, I went back and forth, but as it kept going, I finally got the hint they were playing with my phone. So I started recording and just let them yell and insult. I knew they were all together. Because when Sky called first, I could hear other girls giggling or saying slick shit in the background. I didn't get the whole thing on recording because it came out of the blue, so I only got the last few. If I was to file a harassment report about this, would it be valid or not? I blocked them and threatened to call the cops the last time and they stopped. But seriously, this is childish. ASF edit. Forgot to mention that this isn't real names. It's just close to all of our names and all of our correct ages, so I think that's how she figured it was. Me update 2. Hi everybody, I posted on here 2 weeks ago about my situation with my ex-husband. I also posted about how Sky and her friends called my phone repeatedly. Firstly, I do want to say thank you to everybody who gave me ideas of what to do about the situation, and I especially want to thank the people who messaged me privately to help me get over this. I also, unfortunately, had pervs in my messages, and no, my daughter doesn't need a stepdad. Onto the update, I ended up emailing Sky's school about the harassment. As I mentioned in the mini update, Sky has Reddit, so she took the college she attended out her Instagram bio, which she originally had. Sky, I know you're probably reading this, and unfortunately for you, dumbass, I didn't forget the school you attend. I emailed them about a day after my mini update along with photos of my call log, and they finally got back to me this past Monday. They didn't exactly tell me what they did, but to summarize it, they basically told me that they would take care of her and thanked me for it. Obviously, Sky learned her lesson as she didn't contact me at all. Unfortunately, me or my girlfriend couldn't find her parents. She doesn't have a Facebook, only an Instagram. She doesn't have much photos up, but the one she does up doesn't have anything of her family, just herself. Onto my ex. Soon after my post, I called him and I set boundaries. I told him if he wanted to see Mia, then it was to be done at his home or anywhere, but my house. I told him that when it was time for him to come and get Mia, that I would just walk her to the car, and that he has no permission to come inside my home. He didn't take it lightly. He fussed that he was allowed to go into the home that his daughter is in. I told him that there's no need for him to do that, because if he wants to see her and only her, then me bringing her to the car wouldn't be a problem. After a while of fussing, he did accept it eventually. Unfortunately, I was stupid, and I decided to try and pry my way into knowing a bit more about their past relationship and the affair. I don't believe that Sky told Cam about the post or anything, as I think he would have been mad, or at least brought it up. Cam opened up a little bit and told me a bit more about their whole relationship. He told me that at first him and Sky were originally just hooking up. Before anything happened, Sky let him know that she didn't want a relationship as she wanted to live the college experience, and Cam didn't take it seriously. Eventually, she started talking to other guys, and he would also see her following go up with other guys in it whenever she said she would go to an event. He tells me that he started paying Sky's, because Sky said if he didn't, then she would expose him. I'm not sure what he means by exposed, as he couldn't be talking about expose him to me, because he didn't even seem to give a fuck when he got caught. but Sky had told me that he's the one who offered to pay the tuition. So I don't know which one is telling the truth. He told me that he loved Sky but couldn't love her any longer because she was a gold-digging whore. Even more confused because Sky literally broke up with him. He also said that Sky didn't listen and that she deserved everything he did to her because there's no reason she should be avoiding him. Mind you, I'm confused as hell. At first it seemed like he was trying to play victim, but immediately got off topic and really was just raging about Sky. I'm baffled. Because you were literally just crying over this girl? I ended up questioning him because it literally didn't make sense. He ended up yelling at me, telling me to shut the F up and other shit. Eventually, I just hung up the phone because I don't have time for that. Like a child, he blocked me. I ended up just talking to his mom. I asked if during Cam's time if I could just drop Mia off at her house, and if Cam wants to see Mia, then he could visit. She's an amazing grandmother, so she accepted. I told her that he blocked me, which she was shocked, and told me that she would talk to him about it, but that's the update currently. Hopefully Cam gets help because obviously the nutjob needs it. I recently started working out, and I even joined a dating app this past Saturday like some people requested I did, and good news! I matched with a ton of people. I will also share that I have been a bit down just thinking about my baby girl. I feel like I did wrong picking Cam as her father. I didn't have a good father growing up, so all I wanted was for my kids to have the dad I never had, and at first Cam was amazing, but now, I don't know what's happening. I think it's a midlife crisis maybe, update 3. Anyways, I wanted to give you guys a little update because I've found out a lot of information about the divorce with Sky and Cam. But firstly, I do want to go over some other things. So if you've read my other posts, then you'd know about me calling Sky's school and reporting her. Well, basically, she still attends that school, which I'm guessing they must have given her a warning, or maybe literally didn't have a conversation with her at all, which is insane. But since the situation I explained with my baby daddy on my latest update, I haven't talked with him. I wanted to try and communicate through his mom, which she's been also trying to communicate with him, but he's gone doing whatever that nobody knows. He hasn't seen Mia, hasn't texted me, hasn't come over or anything. I won't like I was very worried at first, but I decided that he's a grown man, and if he wants to act like a child then so be it, because Mia is just fine with me and definitely doesn't need his weirdo ass around. Her Cam has a long-term friend, Matt 36M. They've been friends since college, so he's definitely been around a lot. My guess is that maybe Cam and him got into a really bad argument or something, while Cam is MIA. And it must have been really bad because Matt ended up texting me and snitching on Cam completely. So, now I have more info about the whole affair. Firstly, she was 16 when the affair started, and it went on for 2 years, and I just found out about it she was 18. Cam was very controlling in the relationship with Sky and emotionally abusive. Whenever she would go out to parties, college activities, or outings with her friends, then he would complain and press her and accuse her of trying to get with other men. He offered paying for her college tuition, because when she started the college year she was 17. He did it so she can stay quiet about the whole situation. She kept on telling him she wanted the college experience, and that she didn't want to be locked down and all that, but he got mad about that, and their relationship got even more toxic at that point. Her parents aren't together. And at the time she was a teenager, so her dad was super protective and didn't want her talking to boys, and would often check her phone, which Sky told Cam about this, and it bothered him and made him not like her father. I didn't get much info about her mother, but Matt told me that ultimately as soon as she went to college, he convinced her to cut off her parents. He ended up basically separating her from her parents. Matt didn't exactly tell me what he did, but just told me about the separation. Her dad ending up dying, and she inherited money that could cover her college tuition, which pissed off Cam, and he kept trying to convince her to let him keep paying. But he refused because he knew that when she did it, she'd feel more freedom and most likely end up leaving him based on what she would tell him about the college experience. Matt told me during the affair, after this happened, that it was very on and off, and she was mostly coming to him for sex. Now on to after the divorce when they were together. I guess it got super toxic at that point, and she was super close to leaving. She ended up pregnant with Cam's baby, which she didn't want, and was very upset about. She found text messages Between Cam telling Matt about baby trapping her, he explained how he messed with her birth control pills, and that's what led to their breakup and his little depression. She ended up getting an abortion and blocking him on everything. And he was on my couch venting about this but leaving out why they broke up, obviously. I was disgusted as hell about this whole situation. I was disgusted that he was messing around with a literal child when we have a daughter of our own. And no, I'm no longer allowing him around her. Even if he comes back around, he will not be allowed around Mia. His mother has been trying to reason, but the whole thing is just disgusting and makes me see Cam in a different light. I'm also super confused on why Sky stayed with him. I really do believe she enjoyed the thrill of getting spoiled and being a mistress, because everything about her just gave me bad vibes, and I really didn't like her. When I DM'd her after finding out about the affair, she was just super rude. So I personally think her and Cam were made for each other. Also, last update, I talked about me going on dating apps. I've been going on dates with this new guy, and so far so good. This was a lot to write. So if there are any errors in here, I sincerely apologize. I also always appreciate all the advice you guys have been giving me. Final update, Aita for being upset that my ex-husband didn't take our divorce the way he took his recent breakup. Hi everybody. I know it's been a while, as last time I posted was 4th of July and now it's September. This will most likely be my final update, as last update is where I was really planning to end this, but somebody sent me a link saying my situation made it onto TikTok and also YouTube. I went on both platforms and I'm currently getting dragged because of what I said about Sky. Some of you might hate what I have to say, but I'm sorry. I don't feel bad for Sky and never could. She wasn't 10, she was 16. And when I was 16, I knew damn well not to get involved with married men. So no, she isn't all innocent. Now Cam engaging with a minor definitely hurt, and it's wrong, but I'm pretty sure she put herself on him, and that's when the affair started. I mean, she was literally underage at a club. It's obvious she was looking for trouble. I also feel as if I should have these feelings. I mean, she ruined my family and also harassed me. I also think you guys forget that you aren't in my shoes. I feel as if I have every right to feel this way. And I don't like that girl. Never will. This might be wrong of me to say, but I won't lie. A part of me is happy that Cam and Sky's relationship wasn't all that good. Happy to know I'm not the only one he did dirty, and that she got her karma. Also with pressing charges. I'm sure I can't do anything about that since I wasn't her guardian, and she hasn't pressed any herself, which I think she's just avoiding him now, trying to act like he doesn't exist as if she's the victim of this whole situation. Like she didn't create it. Anyways, I'll move on from that, as I'm very fortunate not to speak of her again, as she's no longer my issue. As I said last update, Cam doesn't see Mia anymore, and he's also back and has been back since late July, and he's been at his mother's house, who's also somebody I've been avoiding. I hate to be that mother that keeps their child away from their father, but I have to do what I have to do in order to keep me and my child safe. I also spoke about me getting to know a guy, and I wanted to touch up on that. Me and him have been officially dating mid-August, and it's been amazing. Obviously, I'm not fully over Cam, but I'm having a great time with my new man. I did start a second job recently, actually, and Mia has also started kindergarten. My baby's birthday was last week, so that's also a lot on me and my new boyfriend. Try and spend time together every Saturday, which Mia's ballet practice is out, and has been out for summer, and they do have a ballet camp, but Mia was underage at the time, so I had put her in daycare, just so she can have more to do over the summer. But ballet does start back up very soon. My second job isn't a full week thing. I only work that job 2 to 3 days out of the week just for some extra money. So while it's those days when I'm working nights at my second job, Mia stays with one of my girlfriends who has a daughter her age, with my other job which starts early. Fortunately, since Mia is now in kindergarten that takes place in an elementary school, she can catch the bus, which she has been doing so far this school year. That's all though. Life has been doing me well, and I've been putting myself first, which I really need to do more often. I feel as if I was a bit too nice in this situation. I'm still a bit pissed that nothing happened with Sky and her college, and really did want to press the issue, but per usual, I let it go. I do want to thank you to everybody who understands my side, and has been sending thankful messages. Again, this will most likely be my last and final update, because I know you guys are sick of me. Lol. Also, apologies if I misspelled or mistyped anything. I'm a super fast typer, and I don't notice my mistakes until way later. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Kids make dumb decisions, even when they know it's wrong. I never threw myself at older men, but I did make dumb decisions that could have had lasting effects on my life. Thank God it didn't. That's the whole point of childhood and having a developing brain. Adults are the ones who are supposed to help, guide, nurture, and at times reproach a child that's getting out of line. Her blaming the kid for doing an inappropriate thing and not the grown man is gross. Reply. I'm not letting Cam get away with it, though. You guys genuinely confuse me, calling me gross as if I'm not the victim in the whole thing. Sky literally harassed me. She knew what she was doing. Commenter 2. But I'm pretty sure she put herself on him and that's when the affair started. This is the most pathetic thing I've ever read. Her new guy needs to run. She's still crazy in love with the adult man that groomed a child, but she hates the child. Make it make sense. Commenter 3. I can't with people telling you should feel bad for what happened to X or Y asshole. There are 8 billion plus people out there to give an F about what happened to them. I don't forcefully need to. Good riddance. And I hope you can keep your child away from this PDF file. Stories number 6. Entitled Mom Tried to Fight Me in the Cinema After I Asked Her Kid to Stop Going on His Phone. Happened to me this weekend. My partner and I went to a late-night movie on the first date night we've had in months. We have a 2-year-old toddler, so getting time can be difficult. During the film, this teenage kid in front of me lifts up his phone and starts taking pictures of the screen and posting them on Instagram. I let it slide 3 times before gently nudging his seat and asking him not to do that. He turns around with the most annoyed and surprised look on his face, as if he'd never heard the word no before, tells me to fuck off and watch the movie and stop bothering him. Despite this, he puts down his phone, and I think it's sorted low. And behold, 2 minutes later, he does it again. Except now he's lifting his phone higher and seemingly trying to get it even more in my face. So I lean over again and ask him to stop doing it, or I'll go and get the staff. Again he tells me to fuck off. But now his mother decides to interject loudly, telling me to mind my own fucking business, and that I shouldn't tell her kid what to do. I repeat, asking if she'd like me to get the staff. She swears at me, tells me to fucking do it. Half the cinema is staring at this point, so I get up and get a staff member. While I'm gone, this lady turns around and stares my partner down for over a minute, pulling the fingers at her, and just being a general ass, I return with a staff member who takes the mother outside for around 10 minutes. About 5 minutes into that, the husband goes out to join in the conversation. Eventually they come back and lean over to tell the kid not to go on his phone anymore. The kid then loudly exclaims, "Fucking retard!" I just sigh and try to enjoy the film. He spends the rest of the film endlessly fidgeting and moving his hands around as high as possible. Not ideal. But better than watching this kid's Insta feed. At the end of the film, as they go to leave, they turn and stare me down, so I respond, "You need to learn some respect." The kid starts grabbing his crotch, making faces and being a little weirdo. I kinda laugh and tell them to grow up and get fucked. As we're leaving, we pass them in the hall, and one of them mutters, "So mature." At this point, I'm fucking done with it. So I turn to the mother and say, "You are an absolute failure as a parent. You should be ashamed of yourself." Naturally, this doesn't sit well, and she starts losing her absolute shit. She steps into me, a 6'2" man, screaming in my face that I should fuck off and mind my own business, that I have no right to tell her kids what to do. I reply that she's clearly incapable, so someone needs to. If she isn't going to tell them, then I gladly will. This flips her switch even further, and now she's literally trying to fight me, telling me I have no right. I'm like, "Lady, what are you going to do about it?" She copies me back, "What are you going to do about it, huh? You going to hit me?" I laugh in her face and tell her no, because I'm not fucking pathetic. At this point, her husband steps in holding her back, yelling at me, "Why you attacking my kids, bro?" I repeat, "Your failures as parents. As one parent to another, you absolutely disgust me. You need to stop acting like children and grow the fuck up." At this point, everyone in the hallway is staring at us. This lady's screaming. The husband is holding her back and yelling how I'm such a loser for attacking their kids. So my partner and I just turn and leave. I'll admit I threw back a few curses of my own on the way out. Probably not the best of me, but at that point I was just done. Date night ended on a bit of a low. But I walked away happy, knowing that those sorts of people will inevitably get themselves in more trouble they can deal with. Comments. Commenter 1. At least you have no doubt where the kid got their behavior from. Sadly, some people are impossible to shame. Reply hard. I probably shouldn't have gotten as involved as I did, it's just energy lost on my end. Commenter 2. You were able to get some time at the cinema away from your toddler. They had to bring their toddler with them. He's going to be living their basement at 30. Commenter 3. Yeah, this generation of parents absolutely fucking sucks. As a 32-year-old, my 10 and 12-year-olds would never get away with that behavior. They know not to talk during a movie and to be polite if walking past other moviegoers when getting refills. Common sense isn't common anymore. I'm disappointed that other people don't get involved to back you up. Reply. Everyone just stared. But honestly, I can understand with the level of aggression that was coming off these people, you could definitely tell where the kids got it from. Though. Commenter 4. Oh, I get it. I've had to tell people to put their phones away during movies. Once I said it to a girl who looked like she was in her 20s because she was bigger than me. Her mom turned to me and said, "Don't tell me, kid, what to do. I just told her I didn't know it was a kid. I thought she was an adult, and you should be telling her not to do it." Went back to my seat, but she didn't get on her phone again. I've also had to report a-holes. Though I'll be damned if I'm spending what they charge for movies and dealing with them anymore. Too bad they don't have ushers like they used to, who wandered the theaters looking for bad behavior and kicking them out. Reply. The cinema said they were monitoring it. What a joke. Lowland. Exactly. I paid $60 for the fancy 4D seats for a special night out and got rewarded with a front row seat to Instagram. Stories number 7. Aita for telling my father's girlfriend that it's not my fault she doesn't have any friends. My 26F father, late 50s, has been with Trudy, early 40s, for about 6 years. But she only moved in with him a little under a year ago. Before that, she lived in a different city since they started dating. Trudy has established herself as essentially a housewife. It was her choice, from what I gather. My father was against it, and she seems happy with it. But she's a little extreme about it. She doesn't work, has no hobbies, and refuses to go anywhere without my father. And he often leaves on work trips for days at a time when he's in town. She joins him in whatever he's doing when he's not. Her daily routine consists of going to the gym and returning home to order takeout and watch TV. Because of that, Trudy has no friends in this city. She never meets anyone. Her whole family is a 6-hour drive away, and only my father's friends come to her birthday parties. Recently, both Trudy and my father started pushing for me and my sister to hang out with Trudy or include her in whatever plans we make, because she's been spending a lot of time home alone and has been getting lonely. They've mostly given up on asking my sister, but still try to convince me. I never do, both because I can't and because I don't like Trudy. I'm well aware that's not her problem, and I'm always polite. But I don't want to spend time with her when I don't have to. I also have a baby and a job, so whatever free time I have tends to revolve around my son, even when it doesn't. Trudy and I don't have the same interests. Last Friday, Trudy was home alone and invited me, my husband, and our baby over to watch a movie with her. We thanked her, but said no because my husband wanted to catch up on work, and I didn't want to take our son out on my own. Both true. On Saturday, we ended up inviting my best friend and her husband for a small game night at our place. Said friend later posted an Instagram story about it. My father returned on Sunday morning, and we saw my family at a small get-together that day. Trudy was quiet, which was out of character. Right before we left, she and my father pulled me aside. We had an argument, because Trudy had seen what my friend had posted. She said she was upset I hadn't thought of including her or taking her up on her offer to hang out when she was home alone. My father told me I'd been inconsiderate, as she hasn't made any friends around here yet, and I know how lonely she's been lately. I said it's not my fault she doesn't have any friends, and I don't have to include her in my plans just because she refuses to meet new people. Trudy got offended, but my husband and I had to leave yesterday. My father texted me saying that Trudy was still upset about what I said, and he thinks I owe her an apology. He thinks that I'm bullying his girlfriend by refusing to hang out with her, and it was rude of me to imply that her lack of friends is her own fault. That was not what I meant, and I don't like being treated like Trudy's cure for loneliness, but I do understand how what I said could be seen as rude. Relevant comments. Commenter, NTA. Why is Trudy looking at your friend's Instagram story? It's not your job to entertain her or invite her to anything. Trudy's a grown-ass woman who needs to get a life instead of crying to her boyfriend that his kids don't want to hang out with her. Reply. She started following some of my friends during my birthday party a few months ago. Said friend has been my best friend since diapers and is a little more active on social media. So Trudy checks hers pretty often. Commenter, NTA. Explain to your dad that you are not bullying her, but they are bullying you. You have said nothing mean to her or about her, and you have not done anything mean to her. You did not attack her with the statement. You defended against their attack. You are a working mother with limited time already, and she is not offering to help you in any way. She is just demanding a portion of your already limited free time. The fact that she has no child and no job and is bored does not give her the right to add stress to your already stressed life. Reply. Things with her have gotten so much worse since my son was born. I always thought my father would be more difficult to deal with around this time, but she does not understand how limited my free time actually is. Commenter. It's exceedingly hard for me to sympathize with or feel any compassion for women in these situations, because if it's against the husband's wishes, then it's ultimately entirely a situation of the woman's designs. Any dislike for the situation, any absence of a life beyond being a housewife, is entirely by her own decision. Plus, from what it sounds like, she basically doesn't have any real constraints, because she's just sitting on her ass ordering takeout and watching TV like, join a club, take up a hobby, read books. If you're just scrolling TikTok and watching TV, then your loneliness is your own fault. Also, it's not necessarily bullying to exclude freedom of assembly as a personal right. And you're not required to spend time with her just because she's a loser. NTA. Reply. My father was indeed against it, but at the same time he's always liked having people who depend on him, even if he doesn't admit it. I love the guy, but living with him wasn't easy, and our relationship got 1,000 times better. When I moved out, this is actually the first fight we've had in a while. I think his main problem with it is how intense it is. She quite literally refuses to do anything without him. Sometimes that comes at the expense of other people's money, comfort, or time. She doesn't care. I do think my father enjoys having her around, but her fixation on being Terminator housewife bothers him too. More on Trudy and OOP's father's relationship. Reply. I always thought they were a weird couple. Trudy is still nostalgic for Y2K and would be a Disney adult if she could afford to. My father thinks he's James Bond, but is closer to Frasier minus the college degrees. He really wants us to be friends, though I never told him I didn't like her, but I did make it clear that the fact we have nothing in common makes it unlikely. Reply. She used to work, and I think she still has some savings. I also think there's some inheritance money involved. My father does pay for most of their expenses, though. Reply. Back when she lived in her hometown, she'd fly in to visit my father at least twice a month and stay for about a week. Moving in with him didn't change much, except she no longer has the option of returning home to stay with her friends and family when he's out of town. Update. I wouldn't say I've sorted everything out, but I'm satisfied with what has happened. A few days after my post, I reached out to all my friends who know Trudy and told them to either block her on social media or just remove her as a follower. Don't think she was using them to stalk me or anything. She spends a lot of time on her phone. It was actually very unlikely she wouldn't see the story my friend posted that day, but I figured it would be best to prevent this from happening again. I also removed her from my followers. My account has always been private. Anyway, I decided I wanted to have a one-on-one conversation with my father so that we could talk things through, so we agreed to have lunch together on Saturday. We settled on a restaurant near my place and agreed it would just be the two of us. The day of, he called and told me Trudy was insisting on coming along to keep us company. I told him no, I wanted to talk to him on my own. We had a small fight because he didn't want to leave Trudy alone, so I told him it was best we rescheduled it. My husband and I had lunch together and took our baby to the park instead. That night, I told my husband what had happened, and he said, "I love that you're still trying to be nice to them, but I don't think it's working." Between that, your comments, and the fact that I'm exhausted, I decided to give up. I can't force my father and Trudy to listen, but I can at least put my foot down. I called my father the next day while Trudy was at the gym. I told him, in no uncertain terms, that I do not like Trudy and will never accept an offer to spend time with her when he's not around. Even more so now that I have a child as expected. My father started trying to guilt me right away. First he went on a spiel about Trudy's life story and how caring and devout she is to everyone around her. He told me about how much she loves me and wishes we could spend more time with her. This wasn't the first time I heard all of that, but it was the first time I told him I didn't care. I'm glad she loves me, but I have no obligation to love her in return. I could spend hours listing all the reasons I don't like her, but I don't think she has to care about that. We're not friends, and we're not family. That argument actually went on for a while, but eventually the subject shifted to Trudy's lack of friends. I reminded him that they live in one of the most popular streets in our city, and there are dozens of things she could do to meet new people. My father said he knew that, but Trudy didn't want to try any of them. I told him that in that case, there was nothing else I could do. Trudy can either start putting herself out there or continue her lonely routine. Either way, I won't be part of it. My father said he wouldn't try to push me to hang out with Trudy anymore, but he can't guarantee she'll do the same. I can live with that. And I reassured him I'll never stop being polite to Trudy. But I won't start liking her just because they want me to. He said he could live with that. My husband and I have come up with multiple theories about why Trudy is so fixated on having her life revolve around my father's. We call her Terminator housewife for a reason, but I've always thought it was very unhealthy for both of them. I hope she does decide to start meeting new people and doing stuff on her own, but I won't be treated as her babysitter anymore. My son is my #1 priority. Thank you for your reassurance. I don't think this is over, but I don't plan on updating again, as I'm very busy and very tired. Cheers. Relevant comments. Commenter: I am glad you are satisfied with the outcome and wish you all the best, and that it stays that way. However, I would not be surprised if the Terminator housewife starts to crank up her crazy. Sane people react very differently to rejection than crazy ones, and I would not count lonely Trudy to the sane ones. Reply: oh yeah, this isn't over in the slightest. But I think my husband and I are prepared, and I'm glad my father knows I don't like her now. I don't support running around telling people you don't like them like a preschooler, but God, did it feel good to get that off my chest. Commenter: NTA, how about Trudy get a job? She can make friends there, or at least keep herself busy, so she'll leave you the hell alone. Reply: she has refused to get a job for years. She has 3 degrees and a decent work history, but the most interest she's shown in working since she started dating my father was when she wanted to be his personal assistant a few years ago. Commenter: strange. How did they met if she doesn't socialize? NTA reply: I genuinely don't know. She was an affair partner before she was a girlfriend, so they're both pretty secretive about the first months of their relationship. What I do know is that she has friends in her hometown. Commenter: that explains why she sticks to your dad like glue. So he was cheating on someone else with her? You could just tell her you have a difficult time befriending people who don't practice fidelity as a core value. Reply: I don't think it's that simple. I think she has her vision of a future in which she depends entirely on her partner and never has to worry about anything as long as her life revolves around him. I think she wanted someone to be codependent with. More on why OOP doesn't like Trudy. Reply: by draining, I mean having a conversation with her is exhausting. It's like listening to a song you hate, but smiling through it because your friends like it. Trudy, the type of person who, when she wants something, will try to mold something else into it, instead of just looking for it. She often expects whatever situation she's in to revolve around her. She doesn't care about anyone else's boundaries, schedules, or needs if they're stopping her from doing something she wants. On a deeper level, Trudy is prejudiced against pretty much anyone who's not like her. I've stated this elsewhere, but Trudy's extremely judgmental of other women. She's also very conservative, which I'm not. So she tends to judge me specifically. She doesn't do that openly, but it's obvious. Additionally, she's very talkative again, not inherently bad and annoying. She acts like a teenager, and the topics she likes talking about reflect that. And there are many other reasons why I don't like her. I don't expect her to change, and I don't think my opinion on her needs to be her problem. But if I can avoid spending time with her, I will. Stories number 8. AIO for leaving my friend's wedding reception early because they forgot my dietary restriction. I 30F am vegetarian, and my friend 29F getting married knows this. When I RSVP'd, I checked the vegetarian option box at the reception. When dinner was served, my plate came out with chicken. I flagged it, and the server said they didn't have any vegetarian meals prepared. I ended up eating bread and salad while everyone else had a full dinner. I stayed for the speeches, but when the dancing started, I quietly slipped out and went home to actually eat. The next day the bride texted me saying she noticed I left early and that it was hurtful. I told her honestly that I felt excluded and hungry all night. She got defensive and said I was overreacting over food and should have just enjoyed the moment. Now I feel guilty but also upset AIO for leaving. Comments. Commenter 1. Do people at their own weddings actually notice if one person disappears for the evening? I attended my old college friend's wedding a couple years ago. I played in a little chamber group that provided music right before and after the service. I was going to attend the reception, but I was so uncomfortable. Reception. We're both outdoors and it was close to 95 F and muggy and so anxious because I was alone. I am not connected to the other people in his social circle. Didn't know anyone else at the reception. I am not a drinker. I just don't do well trying to meet new people at big social events. So I made the executive decision to slip away and go home. To this day, he has no clue that I bailed early. When we hang out, he'll sometimes mention, "Oh, my friend X. I don't think you know her, but maybe you met her at the wedding." He was too busy drinking and dancing and having fun and celebrating his nuptials to be worried about me, as he should have been because it was his wedding. Commenter 2. I have catered wedding events. It's just unbelievable to me that the venue did not have anything vegetarian they could put together at short notice. I always had one spare for each dish and allowed for vegetarian and last-minute gluten-free diets. The contract may say strictly the number of plates ordered, but we've all been in situation of someone dropping a plate of food, someone getting sick, someone having a dietary issue. We're all so much more attuned to complaints and even litigation about allergies. It just seemed like good practice. How easy is it to make a Spanish omelet? Kitchen staff and me always got the spares that weren't needed. Any caterers out there? Is it just me? Commenter 3. As a vegetarian, I leave family events to go eat all the time. Idgaf. If I am warned that there will be limited veg options for me, I'll eat beforehand or bring a veg dish. You didn't get that choice, so having a vegetarian option available is not that hard. It was messed up to put you in that position. Commenter 4. Sounds like the venue made a mistake. If it were me, I would have been there for my friend as a vegetarian. I'm used to things like that. You go to the barbecue, and you eat the bread and salad, and then you eat more bread and salad and have fun. Stories number 9. Aita for planning international travel without my children. I have 2 kids. They are now 14 and 16. I've had 50-50 since I got divorced, up until a few months ago, years ago. My ex-wife got remarried, and her husband advised her to start a custody dispute. I spent $165,000, basically my life savings, fighting for 4 years. For the record, my ex-wife's father is wealthy and paid all her legal fees. This comes into play later. The older child told the court-appointed therapist, "I want to live with mom and only see dad every other weekend." The younger one just said they wanted to do 50 if out of 50. The younger one then changed their mind and said, "Oh, maybe 70-30 with mom. I just want court stuff to be over." I went to trial. My attorney fought like hell, but the judge said, "Given the children's age, their preference will take precedence, and we won't split them up, as it break their sibling bond." Well, my wife and I have been planning some travel with some of her friends, her sister and their husbands. It includes 9 days in Spain and France. They picked the dates. We got tickets. The kids found out about it and have been asking me, "We want to go. Why can't we go?" I told my children, "This is something we planned, we saved for." They asked if it was an adults-only trip. I told them it was not, and their 15-year-old cousin was coming. They said it was not fair we couldn't take them as they know we could afford it, and that it would be their only chance to travel internationally. I told them, "You're young adults now. You chose to spend the majority of your time with your mother, and you got what you wanted, but choices have consequences. One of them is that you don't get to join me on things like this." They're both very upset. My younger one said, "You're just mad we have more fun at mom's house." I'm afraid I'm being an asshole here. I'm happy to be wrong, but my gut is telling me what I'm doing is fair. Comments. Commenter 1. You made it about their choice. Rather than their unavailability, you could have simply said, "Your mother has court-ordered custody over you during the days of the trip. I can't change that." Instead, you went the blame route. That is petty and asshole-ish. Don't blame your children for the difficult position you and your ex-wife placed them in. They didn't choose the breakdown of their parents' relationship. Commenter. 2 YTA for how you're handling this. ID be fine to go without the children, but the way you're handling it is incredibly petty. You're only pushing your kids away more. Commenter 3. I mean, if your goal is to further alienate your kids and worsen your relationship with them, nice work. You don't give any insight into why the kids wanted less time with you. They may have had valid reasons with the limited info provided. It's currently reading as YTA. Commenter 4. Wow. So instead of examining your relationship with your children 14 and 16 are not young adults, and maybe using this trip to strengthen your bond with them, repair any damage, you're getting petty revenge? I'm starting to see why they chose mom. YTA. Commenter 5. It feels like you're trying to punish your kids for the custody battle with your ex. It is entirely up to you whether you invite them on this trip or not, but it feels like cutting off your nose to spite your face. You spent your life savings because you wanted more parenting time. Now you have the opportunity to get more parenting time by taking them on a once-in-a-lifetime trip, and you're saying no. Why? To make sure they know you're angry? You say in your explanation for why you may be the because I may be unintentionally treating my children definitely based on how they have treated me. First, your treatment of them is not unintentional. You are angry and hurt and lashing out at them, which is frankly unfair. They are children. Your job is to be the adult. You are not doing that job very well. Second, their treatment of you, I'm assuming, is your oldest saying they would prefer an every other weekend schedule, and that hurts you. Have you talked to them about it? Do you know why they made that choice? Or are you just pouting about it? Again, you are neither parenting them very well in this, nor setting a good example for how adults behave. This trip is going to be something your children remember for the rest of their lives. You get to decide how they remember it. They can either remember it as when Dad took them on an international trip and made great memories with them, or they can remember it as that time Dad threw a temper tantrum over the custody schedule and went on a trip without them. Stories number 10. I lost a friend due to freaking drawing. Of all things, we're both fully functioning adults in our early 20s, which makes the whole thing even more ridiculous. But whatever, I need to get this off my chest. So at a society in my uni, some friends introduced me to this guy who they thought I'd like, and they were right. At first he was really fun to talk to, and we had a lot of similar interests. So we hit it off pretty fast, but then that all changed after around a year when he found out I was making my own manga. This was originally a group project between me and another ex-friend of mine, who we'll call Ben, with Ben drawing and me writing. But Ben chose to randomly cut all contact with me right as I had finished the script for the first few story arcs. So this project was in limbo until I mustered up the courage to start learning how to draw it myself. I'm aware that the art for the currently released chapters isn't the best. I mean, no shit. This is quite literally my first time drawing in around 16 years. But I told myself I'd keep pressing on with it for the sake of making this project a reality. When the friend from uni found out, he straight up told me that, "We need to get you away from doing art." I need to clarify. I am all for constructive criticism and being told how to improve. But "just don't draw, bro" isn't constructive in the slightest. Especially because at the time he found out, I had only been drawing for around a month. I told him this, along with the fact that I'd keep improving the more I drew. And that seemed to be the end of it. Just a non-consequential chat between two friends over some stupid images on a screen, but nah, I was wrong. A few months later, I made the mistake of drawing some manga pages when he was in the same room as me. He demanded that I give him my stylus so he could show me how he'd do it. And obviously I agreed because I thought he'd give me some art tips, but nah. He took the opportunity to be as condescending as possible. He purposefully drew stuff that had nothing to do with the scene I was drawing, and sped through it as fast as possible, even when I told him he was going too fast for me to process it all. It ended up being the classic Step 1. Draw a circle. Step 2. Draw the Mona Lisa over your circle. Art tutorials you'd get off a Google search. He also began actively working against me, if you catch my drift. Like when he asked me how I draw eyes and I showed him, he just gave me the stink eye and an "ugh, seriously?" expression for a good few moments before drawing the eyes like I did, instead of just simply telling me what he'd do instead. After a while, he began giving me actual art tips I could follow, and I was relieved. I thought it meant he still saw me as a friend and not just someone to ridicule. But nah, he couldn't just give me these tips straight. He had to end it with because what did we talk about last time? You need to improve your art, in the tone of a disappointed parent or teacher. He then spent the rest of the day grumbling to other people about how I refused to learn while I was still in earshot. Despite me never saying anything negative about his art helped to him other than it was going too fast after that, he cut contact with me completely. The baffling thing is, he complained on numerous occasions about AI-generated images appearing on his feed. Yet this is how he treats someone who tries to learn the old-fashioned way? It just irritates me that I could have stayed friends with this guy if I never drew that stupid manga comments. Commenter 1. It just irritates me that I could have stayed friends with this guy if I never drew that stupid manga. Except it isn't a stupid manga. It's a passion project that suffered a roadblock when Dude 1 cut contact with you, so you decided to try making the art for it yourself. Something that cannot at all be easy to do. You tried improving and admitted to only having been drawing the art for a short time before Dude 2 came into the picture. After everything you described, unless there was something you really liked about him, you shouldn't feel irritated. He treated you like shit. You were describing a condescending asshat, not a friend. Not sure what the guy's problem was, but you really dodged a bullet there. That kind of toxicity around you isn't healthy, and if it wasn't over your art skills, it probably would have been some other issue that he took umbrage with about you if the friendship continued. I hope you can continue your manga and try to forget this shit happened. Commenter 2. This is something that more men need to understand. Emo. You didn't lose a friend over drawings. You realized that someone you thought was a friend isn't a friend. Commenter 3. This is just my personal opinion, but it annoys the out of me when someone tries to give constructive criticism on art and tell people what they should work on. Like this isn't a creative subject that has different styles, so therefore there's different things that people like. Art comes from the heart. Putting so many restraints on it kills that creativity it stems from. Commenter 4. You've only been drawing for a month? Do not listen to a word this jackass says. It takes years to learn how to draw well, and he's trying to act like he's all high and mighty over you because you aren't magically perfect. After a damn month, I bet his art isn't even really good if he's pulling shit like this because as a former artist, body no work. No. More who still heavily hangs out with artists? Dudes like this always fucking suck at art because they don't take criticism and think their art is superior to everyone else's. Stories number 11. I edited a yearbook entry and never told anyone about it. This happened during my last year of high school, and I've never told anyone about it. I was part of the yearbook committee, and we had this tradition where seniors would write short texts about each graduating student. Most of them were sweet or funny, but I noticed one entry that really bothered me. There was this guy in our year who wasn't part of the popular crowd and had been bullied throughout high school. Yes, he was a bit weird, but he was never mean. Someone had written what looked like a nice tribute to him on the surface, but it was full of cruel undertones. They made subtle digs about his crush, mocked his outfits, chaku style, and included other mean-spirited jokes that only made sense if you knew the context of how he'd been treated. The submission was anonymous, but I could tell from the email address it came from one kid that always tried to make jokes to be popular. It just felt so cruel to me, like a final last kick while he was down before graduation. So I changed it. I didn't rewrite the whole thing, just edited out the mean parts and made it neutral and kind. I was careful not to make it overly glowing since that would have seemed suspicious, but I made sure there was nothing hurtful hidden in there. When the yearbooks came out, no one questioned the text, and as far as I know, the guy never knew how close he came to being publicly humiliated. One last time I never told him what I did, and I never told anyone else on the committee honestly. I'm not sorry about what I did, even though I wasn't allowed to change the submissions. Everyone deserves to have their high school years end on a decent note. I still think about it sometimes and wonder how he's doing now. Edit. Maybe to clarify something, I know this is not a horrible confession, but I felt the need to share it with someone I know. I officially did something against the school rules, which was not legally right, but like I said, I don't feel bad about that. I wanted to share this here because honestly, it's easier to tell strangers on the internet than people I actually know. It happened over a decade ago, and bringing it up in real life would just be awkward for me to the people I know today. Like, hey, there was a kid at my school you've never heard of. Well, here's this thing I did back then. Plus, I didn't keep in touch with anyone from those days. I was one of those shy kiddos who like to fly under the radar. I'm expecting my first kid, and that has especially got me thinking a lot about how kids treat each other. I already knew back then that it was wrong how this guy was treated, because it wasn't his fault to be different from others. He was quite nice, just socially pretty awkward and didn't fit into the group dynamics of our year. I'm not proud of never saying something in person, and only having the guts to do something when I could hide myself in a group and then escape to college edit. 2. And thanks for all the kind words and awards. I'm happy I decided to share this story. The comments have been interesting to read. So many of you opened up about your own rough times at school, and it's kind of sad how many people have these memories. Comments. Commenter. 1. You did the right thing. Might have accidentally deleted the whole thing, but you did it the right way. Well done. Commenter. 2. I wasn't that kid, but I was probably my school's equivalent of that kid. So I can tell you that they would have been grateful for what you did to spare them that one last humiliation. If they were to ever find out you did a real human kindness that day, and who knows that one final parting humiliation could have been the one that pushed that kid over the edge, and something really awful might have happened if that joke had been published in the yearbook. Never underestimate how much of an impact one small, seemingly insignificant kindness can have on someone who is close to the edge. I'm sure he's doing great now, and that will partly be down to your actions on that one day. Commenter 3. You should be proud of what you did. Honestly, as editor of the yearbook my senior year, I would have just rejected the entry altogether. You saved yourself and a whole bunch of people a lot of headaches, and did a solid kindness for that bullied student a few years prior. I remember someone slipped a disparaging comment about someone else into the yearbook, and it was caught after printing but before distribution. The school had to hang on to them until the publisher reprinted the offending page on permanent sticker paper. Then the yearbook staff had to spend time and affix the sticker page over the top of all of the yearbooks before they could be handed out to the students. It was a huge, expensive mess. The teacher as well as the editor and the students involved in slipping that comment in all got into trouble with the school board over it too. Commenter 4. Maybe you should try and search him up on social media. Good job though. Reply. I thought about it, but I couldn't find him. I think it would be unusual if I reached out. We were never close. We just knew that the other existed. Stories number 12. My ex-husband asked to stay with me and I told him no, so this whole situation feels like something straight out of a soap opera. But here we go. I'm Melissa, 37F, and I live in North Carolina with my 12-year-old daughter, Sophia. I've been divorced from my ex-husband, Daniel, 39M, for almost 7 years now. We split when Sophia was 5. To say it was messy would be putting it mildly. There was cheating on his part, endless arguments, and a whole lot of promises that were never kept. When we divorced, Daniel moved about an hour away. He stayed in touch with Sophia, thankfully, though he was always inconsistent. He'd be Disney dad one weekend, then disappear for 3 months. Still, I encouraged their relationship because I wanted Sophia to have a dad in her life, even if he wasn't perfect. Fast forward to last month, Daniel called me out of the blue, which was weird enough. Normally, if he wants something, he'll just text. He sounded almost desperate. He told me he'd broken up with his girlfriend, some woman named Ashley, and that he'd been couch surfing for weeks. He lost his job at the car dealership, was behind on rent, and had nowhere to go. Then he dropped the bomb. Melissa, can I stay with you, just for a little while until I get back on my feet? I honestly thought he was joking. I laughed at first, but he was dead serious. I told him flat out, no, Daniel, that's not going to happen. He immediately got defensive, saying I was cold and unforgiving. He reminded me that we shared a life together and that I should have more compassion. He even pulled the "but I'm Sophia's father" card, as if that gave him some sort of automatic right to crash at my place. Here's the thing. I worked my ass off to rebuild after our divorce. I bought my own little townhouse. I have a routine with Sophia. Our home is peaceful, safe, and stable. The thought of letting Daniel back into that space, after years of chaos, felt like opening Pandora's box. I told him no again, more firmly this time, and that's when he hit me with, "So you're really going to let the father of your child be homeless?" I snapped back that his living situation was not my responsibility anymore, and that if he really cared about being stable for Sophia, Maybe he should have thought about that before screwing around during our marriage and blowing through money. He hung up on me. Since then, he's been texting me paragraphs about how heartless I am, how I'm poisoning Sophia against him, I'm not, and how I'm selfish for not helping when I could easily afford it. He even roped in his mom, Linda, who called me and said I should show some grace and think of the family. Sophia overheard part of a call one night and asked me if her dad was okay. I didn't want to drag her into adult drama, so I just said, "Daddy is figuring some things out right now, but it's not for us to solve." She nodded, but I could tell she was worried. Here's the kicker. I know I could technically let him stay here for a while. We have a guest room financially. It wouldn't hurt me, but emotionally, it would feel like inviting the past back in and undoing years of healing. Part of me wonders if I'm being too harsh. He is Sophia's father. He's a human being who's clearly struggling. I wouldn't want to see him living out of his car or worse, but another part of me knows how this story would go. He'd say it's temporary. Then 6 months later, he'd still be on my couch, jobless, making excuses. I've seen this pattern before. He always lands on his feet eventually, but only after burning every bridge first. Some of my friends think I'm absolutely right to protect my space. Others think I'm being cold and punitive. So here I am, stuck wondering, was I wrong for telling my ex-husband he couldn't stay with me? Update. My ex-husband asked to stay with me, and I told him, "No, hi everyone, I didn't expect my original post to blow up the way it did. Thank you to everyone who left advice, or even just validation. I read through so many comments, and it helped me sort through my feelings. A lot has happened since then. So here's the update. First off, Daniel did not take my no gracefully. If anything, he doubled down a couple of days after I posted. He showed up at my house unannounced. I was in the middle of cooking dinner with Sophia when I saw his car pull up. My heart dropped. He knocked, then rang the doorbell over and over until I finally opened it. He looked rough, like he hadn't slept, wearing the same clothes I'd seen him in last time, unshaven. He had a duffel bag slung over his shoulder. I stepped outside and closed the door behind me. "Melissa, please," he started. "Just let me in. I swear it's temporary," I told him again, calmly but firmly, that he could not stay with us, that my home was not an option. He started crying, actual tears, about how everyone else in his life had abandoned him, how his ex-girlfriend kicked him out, how his buddies wouldn't return his calls. He said, "You're the only person who's ever truly loved me. Please, don't turn your back on me too." For a moment, I almost caved. Not because I believed him, but because I felt pity. But then I remembered every sleepless night of our marriage, every lie, every time he chose himself over his family. That pity turned to steel real quick. I told him again, "No, you need to figure this out for yourself." That's when he got angry. He raised his voice, saying I was heartless, and that I was teaching Sophia to abandon people. He even threatened to tell Sophia the truth about me. Whatever that meant, I stayed calm, told him to leave my property, and if he didn't, I'd call the police. He cursed me out, threw his bag in the car, and peeled out of the driveway. Sophia came out right after, asking what was happening. I told her gently that her dad was going through a tough time, but it wasn't our responsibility to fix it. She was quiet for a while but eventually said, "I don't want him living here either. He'd just fight with you again." That broke my heart a little, but it also reassured me that I was doing the right thing after that incident. Daniel started blowing up my phone with texts and voicemails, long rants about how I owe him, how I wouldn't even have a house if not for him, which is laughable since I bought it after we divorced, and how I was alienating Sophia. I blocked him after one particularly nasty voicemail where he called me a cold-hearted bitch and said he hoped I died alone. His mom, Linda, got involved again. She called me saying Daniel was staying with her now, but that she couldn't keep him there long because he's not easy to live with. She begged me to reconsider, even offering to pay me rent on his behalf. I said no. She said, "Melissa, you're condemning my son to be homeless." I said, "No, I'm not. He's condemning himself by refusing to take accountability." We haven't spoken since. Here's the surprising twist. Sophia ended up having her own conversation with Daniel. He called her from his mom's phone one night, and she came to me afterward looking shaken. She told me he tried to guilt her, saying, "If mommy really loved me, she'd help me. You should tell her to let me stay." That was the line for me. I called him myself and told him if he ever tried to manipulate Sophia again, I would pursue legal action to restrict his visitation. He didn't say much, just hung up on me as of now. He's still bouncing between his mom's and some friends' places I've heard through the grapevine, thanks to one of his cousins who reached out that he's burned almost every bridge he has. No job, no stable home, just couch to couch. Do I feel bad? A little. It's hard not to when you've known someone that long and they're spiraling. But do I regret saying no? Not even for a second. My peace, my daughter's stability, and my home are worth more than giving him another chance to wreck it. Sophia told me yesterday, "Mom, I'm glad it's just us here." That sealed it for me. Final update. My ex-husband asked to stay with me and I told him no. It's been about 6 months since my original post, and I thought it was time to close the loop. A lot has happened, and I can say with full confidence now, I made the right call. After I blocked Daniel on everything, he went quiet for a while. Too quiet. I braced myself for some kind of blow-up, but instead I heard from his cousin Jeremy that Daniel had left his mom's house after another fight and was crashing on random couches. Apparently, he wore out his welcome fast because he was moody, drinking too much, and expecting people to take care of him. Linda, his mom, did eventually reach back out, but this time the tone was different. She admitted she couldn't handle him anymore and said she understood why I said no. She sounded exhausted, almost defeated. She asked if Sophia could still come by to see her, which of course I agreed to. Linda has always been a loving grandmother, and I'll never punish her for her son's choices. The hardest part of these last few months has been watching Sophia navigate her feelings. She still loves her dad, but she's also starting to see him for who he is. He's missed 2 of his scheduled weekends with her, and when he does show up, it's usually last minute and chaotic. Once, he forgot to bring her back until almost midnight on a school night because he lost track of time. I had to set firmer boundaries after that. One night, Sophia asked me, "Mom, why does Daddy always make promises he can't keep?" That question nearly gutted me. I told her the truth. Sometimes people want to be better, but they don't know how to do the work. That doesn't mean it's your fault or that you're not important to him. She nodded, but I could see the disappointment in her eyes. As for Daniel, I did hear through mutual acquaintances that he finally got a part-time job at a warehouse. Whether he keeps it is anyone's guess. He hasn't asked to move in again, probably because he knows the answer won't change. His last attempt at manipulation, telling Sophia to pressure me, backfired hard, and I think even he realized that bridge is burned. The surprising thing is how much peace I've felt since drawing that line in the sand. At first, I worried about being too cold or too harsh, but the more time that passed, the clearer it became. Saying yes to Daniel would have been saying no to myself and my daughter. I can't fix him. I don't want to fix him. That's not my job anymore. Sophia and I have built our own rhythm. We've been baking on weekends. She started a new after-school art club, and we're even planning a small trip to Chicago this summer. Just us girls, she told me the other day. I like our house the way it is. It feels calm. That one sentence erased every shred of guilt I had left. I know some people might still judge me for turning away someone I once loved, but here's the thing. You can care about someone's well-being without letting them ruin yours. Daniel's choices are his. Mine are to protect my daughter, my home, and my peace. So yeah, final update. I told him no, and I'm standing by it. He's not my responsibility, and honestly, letting go of that weight has been freeing. Thanks to everyone who told me to trust my gut. You were right. Stories number 13, my 26 boyfriends, tattoo 28 cabin, sister-in-law 25 gave him a plushie for Christmas and didn't make one for anyone else. I just want to start by saying that I realize I might be totally wrong and insecure in this situation. I just really want another perspective or something because I just can't help the fact that this bothers me, and I am admittedly feeling jealousy. I have been with my boyfriend for 6 months at this point. He has 4 siblings, 3 brothers and 1 sister, and we are the shortest relationship. In the family, 3 of his siblings are married and another is in a very long-term relationship. I think the shortest relationship in the bunch is 512 years. So I will admit I am a bit intimidated and insecure there. For Christmas this year, his sister-in-law made him a homemade plushie of this little blue baby dinosaur-looking character from his favorite game, Guild Wars. The plushie is amazing quality, and he absolutely loved it. But she didn't make one for any of the other boys who also loved the game just as much. Not even her husband. In fact, she went out of her way to give it to him without his other brothers around, except for her husband. Her husband was just as excited for her to give his brother the gift as she was, but it just felt off to me and I haven't been able to stop thinking about it. Why would she work so hard on something for my boyfriend and no one else? And it just felt like such a personal gift that I could never match, and I just feel like she totally took away from what I gave him. I did try talking to my boyfriend about it, and how I thought it was weird. He said he didn't think it was weird at all, because she has always been closer to him than the other brothers. Well, shouldn't she be closer to her husband than him? He didn't get one. I don't know. I asked him if he would give it back to her, saying he can't accept it, and he refused and said I'm being ridiculous. I just feel like a woman doesn't make such a personal gift for a guy unless they see them as something more. It was just how I was raised, and I hate feeling this way about something like this. I talked to my mom and sister, and they both agreed that it wasn't right, and that this was most likely the beginning of her trying to push me out. I just can't help but feel like she was trying to make him like her more than me, because he said she has never given him anything before, and this is our first Christmas together. I just don't know what to think. Or if I'm overthinking this completely, TLDR. Boyfriend's sister-in-law gave him a homemade plushie that she put a lot of work into for Christmas and didn't make one for any of his other siblings. I feel like this means she is attracted to him and is trying to win him over. Now that I am in the picture. Am I overreacting? Relevant comments. Commenter 1. You're reading way too much into this. As someone else said, there may be a backstory on in-joke there that you don't know about. Also, it's entirely possible that she's working on gifts for everyone else. If it's as nice as you say it, probably takes a while to make. So maybe she ran out of time. I talked to my mom and sister, and they both agreed that it wasn't right, and that this was most likely the beginning of her trying to push me out. WTF. She's happily married to his brother and gave him the gift in front of her husband, and you think she's trying to push you out? That's some master-level insecurity there. Reply. I guess the time thing is a good way to look at it. It does look very professional, I don't so I really don't know how long something like that takes. And that's just how my mom has raised us. She has always been very protective of our father. I try not to be her because I know she can be a bit much at times, but this situation just completely threw me off. And it's honestly hard to see his other siblings significant. Others fitting into the family unit so well while I'm just the outcast. Commenter 2. If anything, I'd say that your mom is trying to drive a wedge between you and your boyfriend's family, even if she's doing it unwillingly. Commenter 3. You are overreacting. Being a jealous, paranoid and controlling girlfriend will drive him away. You've been together 6 months and you're already trying to determine what presents he's allowed to receive from his family? That's crazy. You are the one making up a wedge to drive between you and his family, not her. Calm down. It's a stuffed animal, not a blowjob, which is probably what her husband got and why she didn't gift it in front of you. Reply. It wouldn't have bothered me if it was from his actual family. It's just that it's the significant other of his brother that bothered me. If his actual sister made it for him, I would never in a million years have asked him to return the gift. Commenter 4. An in-law is actual family, and you do yourself no favors by making those kinds of distinctions. My sister-in-law is my family, and I'd be really annoyed if someone tried to tell me that she wasn't. Reply. That's just a really hard distinction for me to make, honestly. His one brother has been in a long-term relationship for 7 years. They do not plan to marry. Yet this sister-in-law has been with her husband for 5-1-2 years. She hasn't been with the family for as long as the other one who isn't married. So how is she more their family than the other girl who has been around longer? Just because of documents? I always viewed marriage as the couple making their own family unit. Commenter 5. This hair-splitting about who is more his family is really weird. She is married to his brother. She is family. It doesn't matter if they've been married for 5 minutes or 15 years. The woman who is in a long-term relationship with his other brother is also family. No one is more family than the other. It's not a pH level. They're familial ties. Update. My first post wasn't popular by any means, but it got a decent amount of comments, so I figured I'd update. I went a few weeks without saying anything else about the subject because everyone on here seemed to disagree with my side of things. Then last Saturday he told me he was going to be spending the day at his brother's just to hang out. We generally make plans on Saturdays, but I hadn't had the chance to make plans official with him yet. I just figured it was implied at this point, so I asked him if I would be allowed to go over there with him. That's when he told me that it was just going to be a day with him and his brother. So I reminded him that since it is his brother's house, then most likely his wife will be present too, so I didn't really see how it was fair. Ultimately it blew up, and I told him everything, brought up the gift again, and just how I feel intimidated by everyone, and feel like his sister-in-law is on some pedestal or something, because she gets to be there, and I don't. I also mentioned how I just felt like I was being pushed out by her, and that the gift made me uneasy. He was frustrated and told me that he was going to his brother's, and that he would talk to me later. So I spent all morning Saturday on edge, and just completely jealous. Then around 1 p.m. his sister-in-law called me. I guess he gave her my number and asked me if I was free to meet her for coffee. I was confused but agreed to have coffee with her. I expected it to be awkward at the coffee shop. She wasted no time to tell me that my boyfriend had told her everything. She said she wanted to meet for dinner because she wanted me to see her face and see that she was genuine in everything she had to say. She went on to explain that she had no feelings for him in the way I was implying to him, and no intention of pushing me out. She said her original plan was to make the plushie for all of the boys since they all play the game, but it took her way too much time to make one, so she wanted to give it to her favorite brother-in-law. I questioned why not her husband, and she said that she lives with him, and he knew she was making it in the first place, and that she could make him one any time, and just wanted that one to be a surprise Christmas present. I told her that I still kinda thought it was inappropriate, since he was in a relationship now, and she just paused and didn't say anything for a few seconds. Then she asked me if there was anything else that was bothering me. I used today as an example, and said it bothered me that he went to her house and told me I couldn't come because it was a day with his brother, even though she would obviously be there. She told me that it is a day with his brother, and that just because she lives in the house doesn't change that. She said that she kept to herself, doing her own things while the boys played video games with each other, and that my boyfriend came to her when she was in the kitchen to talk to her about me briefly. I didn't say anything. I still felt a bit jealous, but I just didn't know what to say. She then asked me if I had anything else I wanted to get out, and I declined. She said that she didn't want to part ways without giving me some advice. She went on to say that she thinks I'm a very nice girl, and that the entire family feels that way, and wanted to remind me that all of the spouses and significant others were new to the family at one point in time. She went on about how it takes time to feel a closeness with everyone, and that she went through it too. She then said that she didn't want to come across the wrong way, but that I needed to work hard on my insecurities, or else I would lose my boyfriend. She just went on and on saying how I am so nice, and that I am ruining a good thing by letting myself overthink these things, and by being so insecure. She told me to really think about how I am acting over his own sister-in-law interacting with him. That's when my stupid brain made me say, well, if you were to get a divorce, then you wouldn't be his sister-in-law, and you would just be another woman in his life. That was the moment it finally hit me just how crazy I was being. She gave me this look and said, well, we aren't getting a divorce, so. And I just felt completely embarrassed and apologized. She then very nicely told me that on second thought, she thinks I might not be ready for a relationship at all, and that I really need to work on myself. That was pretty much the end of it, and we parted ways. I spent the rest of the weekend crying and hating myself. My boyfriend didn't call me or text me at all. Finally on Monday he asked if he could come over. So he came over and asked how it went with SIL. And I had figured he knew everything, but he said that all she said was that he needed to talk to me. Turns out he didn't talk to me all weekend because he was angry with how I acted about him going to his brother's house, then bringing up the gift again, and he just needed some space. He told me that he wasn't going to put up with this type of behavior, and that it is putting way too much unnecessary drama into his life. As I'm sure you are probably guessing, he proceeded to break up with me. He told me he really cared about me, but he just can't imagine how bad it will get in the future if I'm already acting like this with people who are his family. I begged him not to leave, and that I would do everything to change, and he just wouldn't budge. I haven't heard from him since, and I feel like I had my heart ripped out and stomped on it. Hurts so bad, and I know this is all my fault. I have my mom and sister telling me how it's good riddance and how he broke up with me so that he wouldn't have anything holding him back from his SCIL. And this just broke me. I am so done with my family and the way they put these toxic ideas in my head. I'm just done, so yeah, not a happy update. From here I am planning on working on myself and hope to someday maybe convince him to give me another chance. I don't know why I wrote this update. It just feels good to get it out, I guess, and further convinces me I need to change. ITLDR. Boyfriend's sister-in-law asked me to meet for coffee and convinced me I was being unreasonable. But it was too late. Boyfriend dumped me and my mother and sister are insane. I hope to work on myself and get him back. Top commenter. I won't sugarcoat this. You acted crazy. That being said, you seem to be somewhat aware that this isn't normal behavior, so I suggest allowing yourself a little time to grieve the relationship and then move on. You should look into a therapist who can help you wood through these jealousy issues. But this is a lesson learned. Stories number 14. I paid $18,000 cash for a car, but my grandma is gaslighting everyone into thinking it was her handout. So here's the story that's been eating at me. And maybe some of you can relate. 27. Finally, saved up enough money to buy myself a reliable car. I've been driving around a beat-up 2007 Ford Focus since high school. It had more rust than paint at this point. The AC was dead, and every time I drove on the freeway I held my breath, hoping it wouldn't fall apart. I've been working in IT support for 5 years now. Nothing glamorous, but I grind. I pick up overtime shifts when I can, and for the last 3 years I've been setting aside money in a savings account specifically for a new car. Last month, I finally hit my goal. $18,000 cash. My plan was to buy a used Honda Accord or Toyota Camry in good condition. Something practical, reliable, with good mileage. So I find a 2020 Honda Accord at a dealership not far from me. 40,000 miles, excellent service record, priced at $18,500. I negotiated it down to $18,000 flat and paid in full. It felt incredible to hand them the cashier's check and drive home in a car that I bought, with money I earned. Now, here's where my grandmother comes in. My grandma, Linda 74F, has always had this performative streak. She loves being the savior in family stories. Growing up, whenever she gave us birthday money or bought something for the house, it was always followed by her telling anyone who would listen that she rescued us. She thrives on being seen as the one who steps in when nobody else can. When I showed up at her house in my new car, proud as hell, she immediately asked, "Oh my goodness, how could you afford this?" I told her the truth. I've been saving for years, paid cash, no loan. She gave me this fake smile and said, "Well, it's good you have family to help you out." I brushed it off, thinking maybe she just misunderstood. But then at Sunday dinner with the extended family, she starts telling everyone that she helped me buy the car. She didn't say it outright like I paid for it, but she used phrases like, "I told him I'd help him get on the road," and, "You know, I can't just let my grandson drive a junker." My aunt asked how much she chipped in, and my grandma smirked and said, "Well, let's just say he wouldn't have it without me." I sat there, stunned. I tried to correct the record, saying, "Actually, I paid for it myself, every penny." But my grandma waved her hand and said, "Oh, don't be modest. Family helps family." Now my cousins are under the impression that I basically got an $18,000 handout from Grandma Linda. My uncle even pulled me aside later and said, "You should be more grateful. Not many people are lucky enough to have that kind of support." It drives me insane, because the reality is, my grandma has never given me money beyond the $50 birthday checks she mails. I worked overtime shifts, lived frugally, skipped vacations, and drove that death trap Focus for way too long to afford this car. And now she's gaslighting everyone into believing she's the hero. I brought it up with her privately. I told her, "Grandma, I really don't appreciate you telling people you helped with the car. I paid for it myself." And she gave me this cold smile and said, "Honey, perception is everything. If people think I helped, then I helped. Why do you care so much about credit?" That floored me. I told her it's not about credit, it's about truth. I worked hard for this. She hasn't lifted a finger. She laughed and said, "Oh, you're still so young, you'll understand one day." So now I'm in this weird position where my whole family thinks I'm ungrateful for not acknowledging her gift. Meanwhile, I'm just furious that my hard work is being erased because my grandma likes attention. It feels like gaslighting, like, I was there, I know what happened, but she's spinning the narrative so confidently that other people doubt me at work. When coworkers ask how I got the car, I proudly say I saved and paid cash. But with family, it's like I have to defend myself from this lie. And honestly, I'm tempted to bring my bank statements and the cashier's check receipt to the next family dinner just to shut it down. But part of me wonders if it's even worth the drama. My grandma thrives on drama. She'd probably spin that into another story where I'm ungrateful and disrespectful for trying to embarrass her still. I'm so tired of sitting silently while people pat her on the back for something she didn't do. So Reddit, what would you do? Do I just let everyone think my grandma bought me a car and swallow the injustice? Or do I stand up for myself and risk being labeled the ungrateful grandson? Because I swear, every time I drive my Accord now, I hear her voice in the back of my head claiming it as her achievement. And it takes some of the joy out of what should have been one of the proudest moments of my life. Update. Grandma's lies about the car blew up bigger than I expected. I didn't plan on updating this, but wow, things escalated more than I thought they would. After I posted last time, I decided to take a step back and not confront Grandma Linda. Immediately I figured, okay, maybe this will fizzle out if I just keep living my life. Spoiler, it didn't. About 2 weeks later, we had another Sunday dinner at my Aunt Karen's house. I drove the Accord there, parked out front, and sure enough, people came outside to look at it. My cousin Nate 21M made a joke about how Grandma's money sure goes a long way and said, maybe she could sponsor his next car too. I was already irritated. But then my grandma walked out on the porch and said, loud enough for everyone to hear, well, you know, I couldn't just let my sweet grandson go without he deserves to be taken care of. That was the breaking point for me, I said, right there in front of everyone. Grandma, stop. You didn't buy this car, you didn't give me a dime. I worked overtime shifts for 3 years to pay for it myself. Don't take credit for something you had nothing to do with. You could have, heard a pin drop. My Aunt Karen looked like she'd swallowed a lemon. My Uncle Mark pulled at his beer can like it was suddenly the most interesting thing in the world. And Grandma? She froze, then gave me this wounded look and said, oh, honey, why are you trying to embarrass me in front of the family? You know I helped you. That's when I pulled out my phone, opened my banking app, and literally showed my Aunt Karen the withdrawal for the cashier's check. I said, here $18,000 came out of my account. Straight to the dealership. Grandma didn't give me anything. Now the family was really silent. My cousin Nate muttered, damn, under his breath. My mom, who had been quiet up until then, finally said, Linda, why are you lying about this? You know he worked for that car. Grandma didn't back down. She pivoted and said, well, maybe I didn't give money directly, but all the times I babysat, cooked dinners, gave birthday money, it all adds up. That's support too. Without me, he wouldn't be where he is, and there it was. She shifted the goalposts. In her mind, she wasn't exactly lying. She was just rewriting history so she could be the benevolent matriarch. I told her, there's a big difference between giving me $50 for my birthday and paying for an $18.00 car. Stop conflating the two. At that point, my Aunt Karen tried to change the subject, but the damage was done. Half the family now realized Grandma had been exaggerating, if not outright lying. The fallout came later that night. Grandma called me, crying, saying I had humiliated her in front of everyone. She said, all I ever wanted was to feel appreciated. Why couldn't you just let people think I helped you? What harm would it have done? And honestly, I didn't know what to say because in her mind, attention and recognition are more valuable than truth. The family is now split. My mom and my siblings are firmly on my side, saying I had every right to defend myself. But my Aunt Karen thinks I should have just let Grandma have her moment because she's old and it makes her happy. My Uncle Mark basically shrugged and said, that's Linda for you. Here's the kicker though. Since then, Grandma has doubled down. She now tells people that I turned on her after she helped me, and she paints Me as the ungrateful grandson who doesn't know how to honor family. Sacrifices? It's exhausting. I feel like I can't win if I let her take the credit. My hard work is erased. If I correct her, I'm disrespectful. But one thing changed after that dinner. My cousins stopped making comments about Grandma buying the car. I think they saw enough evidence to realize she was bluffing. At least that narrative is dead in the water. I just wish it didn't come at the cost of basically torching my relationship with my grandma, because now every conversation we have feels loaded. She's cold, distant, but also passive-aggressively reminds me of every little thing she's ever done. Like, remember when I bought you socks for Christmas in 2005? I guess that didn't matter either. So yeah, that's where we're at. My grandma didn't give me a dime, but she managed to wedge herself into the story of my car anyway, and now it feels like the family has this permanent scar from one dumb lie final update. The truth about the car and my grandma, I didn't think I'd be posting again. But things have run their course, and I figured I'd close this out after my last update. Things between me and my grandma were tense. She was cold with me, throwing out passive-aggressive comments about gratitude and family loyalty. Every phone call ended with her reminding me of some tiny thing she did for me years ago, like she was building her own case file of why she should be able to claim my car for a while. I debated just swallowing my pride and letting her have her narrative, but honestly, the more I thought about it, the more I realized this wasn't just about the car. It was about a pattern. My grandma Linda has always rewritten history to make herself look like the hero growing up. She'd tell people she helped raise me, when in reality she watched me a few afternoons here and there while my mom worked late. She'd brag about paying for my school clothes, when really she bought me one backpack at Walmart. She always needed to be seen as the savior, even if it meant twisting the truth. The difference this time was that I was old enough, and financially independent enough, to finally call her out. So after the Sunday dinner blow-up, I had one last private conversation with her. I went to her house, sat in her living room and laid it all out. I said, "Grandma, I love you. I'll always appreciate the things you've done for me, but I will not let you erase my hard work. I paid for that car. Me, not you. And if you need people to believe you gave me $18,000 just to feel loved, then maybe the problem isn't me. Maybe it's that you don't feel secure unless you're taking credit for things that aren't yours." She started crying, told me I was cruel, told me I didn't understand what it's like to be old and feel forgotten. I sat there and let her cry, but I didn't back down. I told her that if she kept spreading lies about me, I'd start correcting them every single time. No more letting it slide. That was 2 weeks ago. Since then, she hasn't brought up the car once. She hasn't apologized either. That's not her style. But the story seems to have died down. My cousins stopped teasing me. My Aunt Karen moved on to a new family drama. And my mom said, "Honestly, this was bound to happen eventually. You just happened to be the one who drew the line. The car itself, still running beautifully. Every time I get behind the wheel, it feels like a quiet reminder that I earned it. I worked for it. I saved for it. No one can ever take that away from me. No matter how hard they try to rewrite the story as for my grandma, I've accepted that she'll probably never change. She'll always need to be the star of the show, and she'll always exaggerate her role in other people's lives. But now that I've stopped letting her version of events go unchallenged, she doesn't have the same power to define my story, so yeah. That's the final word. I paid $18,000 cash for my car. Grandma didn't give me a dime, and while it cost me some peace in the family, it also freed me from letting someone else take credit for my work ever again. Thanks to everyone who encouraged me to stand my ground. It wasn't easy, but it was worth it. Stories number 15. To all the moms who got nothing or some afterthought this year, I see you because I am you every single day of the year. I spend 12 to 15 hours a day devoted to my family. Today I received nothing under the tree. Nothing in my stocking. When I mentioned it after all the presents has been opened, my husband quickly left the room and came back saying, "Are you sure you checked your stocking?" Before looking, I asked, "So what does the Post-it say this year?" A jab at the Post-its I've received over the years for Mother's Days, birthdays, and Christmases with words like "choose your own skincare" or "go get yourself a massage" scribbled on them. This time it read, "Get yourself a hotel for one night." I was embarrassed not just for myself but for him. There is no excuse, so to all the women who woke up today to nothing or next to nothing, I want you all to know that I see you, I appreciate you. And the difference you make for your children by being present is one of the most important jobs this life has. Thank you for all you do and sacrifice for those around you. You deserve better. Merry Christmas, Edit. To anyone who thinks I'm buying into the capitalist agenda, to be clear, I am not a want person. I buy all of my clothes second-hand, and am something of a minimalist. I collect only vintage books and often make gifts or give consumables to my husband. This summer, we traveled to my husband's hometown, and he told me it was his happy place. My daughter and I found a heart-shaped rock on the beach there, so I cast it in a resin pendant and gave him that as his Christmas gift, so he could have a piece of his happy place wherever he went. I don't need stuff, but even a photo of my daughter and I framed on our vacation would have been something. Comments. I'm not a want person. I buy all of my clothes second-hand and am something of a minimalist. I often make gifts to give my husband this summer. We traveled to my husband's hometown, and he told me it was his happy place. My daughter and I found a heart-shaped rock on the beach there, so I cast it in a resin pendant and gave him that as his Christmas gift, so he could have a piece of his happy place wherever he went. I don't need stuff, but even a photo of my daughter and I framed on our vacation would have been something. Yes, I was so hurt that yesterday while I was cooking the Christmas dinner, I almost cried. I told him how thoughtless and hurtful this was. Not just at Christmas, but for all occasions. I still haven't received anything for my first Mother's Day. 4 years ago, he fired back saying that I'm not perfect and too hard to shop for because I'm so particular. He just started working 2 jobs, so he claimed to not have any time to get something, but yet he's always on his phone at night. I told him surely in the hours he spends on his phone, he could have Googled thoughtful gifts for your wife. Surely he could have ordered something online at some point. We even have each other on Pinterest because we're renovating our house ourselves and sharing ideas there, so he could fully go see what I'm pinning there in terms of what I like. I've decided to stop shielding people's garbage behavior. I let my daughter see me crying and hear the conversation. I hope that I was able to model how to communicate feelings in a constructive way. I also want her to see who her dad really is, the good and the bad. Maybe she won't be as surprised when he isn't thoughtful toward her in the future. I used to watch SATC in my 20s, and all I could hear screaming in my head when this happened was, "There is a way to say Merry Christmas to your wife, Billy, and it doesn't include a post-it." Update, I am getting myself the hotel. Today I am booking 3 nights away for myself. I will be packing all of the gift cards I've received from my mom or co-workers over the years, and held on to, waiting for sales, or the things I need to go on clearance. That's over. I'm using them all now in what will be a massive haul for all the things I've actually needed for years and never bought in an attempt to be a frugal and non-demanding wife. I will buy myself sunglasses that actually shield the sun, a proper bra to wear to work, home shoes that will help my back, and finally that golden locket that I asked for 4 years ago for my first Mother's Day yesterday while I was cooking Christmas dinner. My husband was practically jerking himself off talking about his stock portfolio, so I'll be taking his credit card to do all this from now on. I will celebrate myself. I will buy my own gifts and put them under the tree with "From Santa" on them until kiddo is older, and then we'll write to Mama from Mama so she knows her dad did jack. All I think this Christmas the real gift is learning to give myself permission to exist and be celebrated, and I hope all of you who weren't celebrated this year find the strength to do the same. Comment. I brought this up to my husband and had a conversation about it in front of my daughter. I wanted to model what being sad and disappointed looked like, and how to convey those feelings toward your partner in a constructive way. I admit, my voice was slightly raised and I did almost cry, but I basically told my husband his behavior is being received as completely disrespectful and thoughtless, even if that wasn't his intent. My daughter started yelling at my husband, "Dada, don't talk. Mama is talking." And it warmed my dead little heart that my toddler was helping to defend her mom. The self-love starts tonight with yoga, a sheet mask, and a locked door update. 2. I would like to thank everyone for the outpouring of support. I hope that my story encouraged a conversation or set the ball rolling towards self-love for other primary parents who feel unseen on holidays. Yesterday, my husband spent every opportunity doing the dishes. He watched our kiddo while I went to my favorite store to seek out some work clothes for myself. After that, we went on a family outing, and my husband was more present and considerate by strapping our kid into the car seat. getting me a drink while I shopped instead of a fountain drink for himself, and taking kiddo to the kids section while I looked for sunglasses. To those of you saying divorce is the immediate way to go, I ask you to acknowledge that there is always a bigger picture. I am learning to stand up for myself just as much as he is learning to be thoughtful and take initiative. To help out, I didn't mention how appalling those post-its were for 3 years, and should have called it out the first time. I also believe in giving people the space and chance to change. If they don't, I agree with all of you that it is okay to move on. My husband is a hard worker and a mostly present dad. He just doesn't know how to be thoughtful because his family, except for his mom, isn't thoughtful at all. His parents were married by convenience, not love, so he has no clue what appreciating your spouse long-term looks like. For those of you making fun of my gift cards, good news. None of them expired. I will be heading out to the shops today and spending them all by day's end. For those of you saying I use my daughter as a pawn, I am a certified educator with a degree in psychology, specializing in childhood and social psychology. I have protected her from everything. I excuse family members from our table for swearing or even saying "oh my God" in front of her. She goes to a gated preschool, has nothing but home-cooked meals, and very little screen time. We aren't rich. We just sacrifice and don't buy much for ourselves to be able to give her the best. She was upstairs when the conversation unfolded, heard it, and came down to defend me. I didn't shield her from the conversation because to me it was important to demonstrate conflict resolution, which is what ultimately happened. I also make it a point to tell her that Mama said she needs help and now Dad is helping. My parents used to hit me until I was 12, so I don't think I did too much damage by allowed her to see a disagreement between her parents for the first time at age 4. I've learned a lot from this post about myself, my family, and modern moms in general. I hope all of you moms out there who feel unnoticed find ways to celebrate yourself because you have a hard job too, and you deserve to be celebrated. Not with material things, but even with something simple like the time to reconnect to who you were before you became someone's mom. I am slowly learning to find my voice and hope you do too. Let's start 2025 with a lot of self-love. Happy New Year, mamas. Thank you for all you do. Update 3. Hi everyone. For starters, I'd like to say how touched I am for all the support that was given to me, and that we have given each other. During my first posts over Christmas about moms that were an afterthought over the holidays last year, for those of you who don't know me, I am the mom who got a half-assed 3D post-it note telling me to get myself a hotel stay for Christmas a few months back. Here is my update. That day, something in me snapped, and I have since not felt shy at all about communicating what I need on the daily, from both my husband and my daughter. It hasn't always been easy, but on days that I don't feel heard, I say so, and I make sure that my needs are clear with no room for interpretation. It looks something like, I have done A, B, and C for you, and right now I need. So you are welcome to do choice X or Y while I take the space to get what I need right now. I have since made time to start going on regular evening walks with a friend. My husband is now responsible for bedtimes every other day. I no longer cook. Several dinners catering to everyone's tastes. I batch cook on Sunday and most weekdays. We have leftovers for dinner. It is what it is. I've also planned out 4 sick days from work that will be used as mental health days to do things that used to bring me joy. Write, paint, and sleep. Additionally, I have planned 2 two-night hotel stays for myself in March and May. As little mama getaway vacations, I think my family gets it now. Which brings me to today, for Valentine's Day. My husband helped my daughter make a photo frame containing a picture I had taken of my daughter. They modified her photo with a beautiful heart added in and set it into a frame they made, together with my daughter's inside love jokes glued around the sides. I cried. My husband also finally repaired a broken vase using my favorite Japanese mending technique that my daughter painted for me in 2023, and then smashed. He has also started trying to take notice of things, which has been a really nice byproduct of this whole experience. He saw me very excited to find my brand of skincare at Costco, and I mentioned in passing that I wish I'd bought one more bottle. The next time he went back, it had sold out. He later spent some time on the Costco app researching the product location by location, found a store that had it in stock, and a week later, surprised me with 3 more bottles. Overall, I'd say that I'm happy with how things are going, and that I stood up for myself that day, and yes, Maybe while wrapped up in my emotions, I didn't go about modeling my disappointment in the best way, raising my voice, and then drinking half a bottle of wine while cooking Christmas dinner, but I will say that I am happy to maybe have taught my daughter to voice her boundaries and know her worth. If the outcome of this had been different, I would have showed my daughter how to thoughtfully and courageously exit situations that don't value you. Good luck out there, mamas. Love to you all. Stories number 16. I banned my brother-in-law from my house after he stole from me. For context, I'm 34, married to my wife 32, and we've been together for almost a decade. We live in Ohio, have a modest but comfortable house, and both work decent jobs. I work in IT, and she works in healthcare. We're not rich, but we've worked hard to build stability. My wife's younger brother, let's call him Ryan, 29, has always been the wild card of the family. He's smart, funny, and charismatic when he wants to be, but he also has a history of bad decisions. Gambling, drinking, job hopping, couch surfing, you name it. Every family has that one relative who just can't seem to get their act together. In our case, that's Ryan. Despite his flaws, my wife has always had a soft spot for him. He was her little brother, and growing up, they were close. Their dad passed away when they were kids, and she feels like she had to step into a protector role for him. She'll admit he frustrates her, but she's also his biggest defender. Fast forward to about 6 months ago, Ryan had just lost another job, this time for no-call, no-shows at a warehouse, and his girlfriend had kicked him out of their apartment. My wife asked if we could let him stay with us, just for a while, until he got back on his feet. I wasn't thrilled. We'd tried this before, years ago, and it ended badly. He barely contributed, left messes everywhere, and treated our place like a crash pad. But my wife was emotional, saying he had nowhere else to go, and after some discussion, I agreed to a trial run, 2 weeks max, with the understanding that he needed to actively look for work and not cause problems at first. Things seemed okay. He was polite, helped with dishes, even bought us pizza one night as a thank you. I thought maybe he was maturing, but little things started adding up. Long showers that ran up our water bill, leaving doors unlocked, borrowing my tools without asking, nothing huge, but enough to annoy me. Then came the big one Friday night. I went to grab some cash from an envelope I keep in my office desk. I use it for odds and ends, small house repairs, tipping, emergency cash, etc. I knew I had about $600 in there because I had just taken some out for a contractor estimate. When I opened the envelope, there was $120 left. At first, I thought I was losing my mind. Did I spend it? Did my wife borrow it and forget to tell me? But she swore up and down she hadn't touched it. My stomach dropped, and I knew exactly what had happened. Ryan, I didn't want to accuse him without proof, but the timing was too perfect. He'd been lounging around all week, complaining about being broke, and suddenly, my money vanishes. I gave him the benefit of the doubt and asked casually if he'd seen the envelope in my office. He got this weird look on his face, defensive, almost offended, and snapped, "Why would I go in your office? That's your space." That right there told me everything. Later that night, I checked my garage and realized one of my old guitars was missing too. It wasn't a super expensive one, maybe worth $300, but it had sentimental value. My late uncle gave it to me when I was 16. I asked Ryan about it, and he shrugged, saying, "Oh, maybe you misplaced it. You've got a lot of junk in there." I was done. The next morning, while my wife was at work, I confronted him directly. I told him I knew he took the cash and the guitar, and I wanted them back immediately. He exploded, calling me paranoid and accusing me of never liking him. When I pushed harder, he finally admitted he borrowed the money and pawned the guitar. His plan was to buy it back once he got paid from some under-the-table job he was about to start. I lost it. I told him to pack his stuff and get out. He begged me to let him stay, saying he had nowhere to go, but I didn't budge. I physically stood there while he threw his clothes into a bag, and I watched him walk out the door. When my wife came home, I told her everything. She was devastated at first. She tried to defend him, saying maybe he was just desperate. Maybe he didn't mean it. But when I showed her the pawnshop receipt I found crumpled in his jeans. Yep, I checked his laundry. She broke down. She called him, screamed at him, and he hung up on her. Here's where the drama comes in. Her mom, my mother-in-law, got involved. She called me and accused me of overreacting and humiliating Ryan by kicking him out. She said family is supposed to forgive, and I should have given him a chance to make it right. When I told her he stole from me and pawned something priceless to me, she brushed it off. It's just money and an old guitar. Ryan's struggling. He needs compassion. I told her compassion doesn't pay for stolen items. Since then, the family has been divided. Half of them support me, saying Ryan needs to face consequences. The other half, mainly his mom and a couple of cousins, think I should have been more understanding. Ryan himself texted me once, calling me an a-hole and saying I ruined his life, because now no one else in the family will let him stay either. My wife is stuck in the middle. She agrees he was wrong, but she hates that her family is turning on me. She's been crying a lot, saying she feels like she's losing her brother for good. I get it. It's painful. But I also told her I have to protect our home. I won't live under the same roof as someone who steals from me. It's been about a month since this happened, and Ryan is apparently couch hopping again. I got my guitar back barely. It was almost sold. But the cash is gone. I wrote it off as the price of a lesson. Here's the bottom line. I banned Ryan from ever setting foot in my house again. If he wants a relationship with us in the future, he's going to have to do a lot of work to rebuild trust. But here's the kicker. I still feel guilty sometimes. I know he's family, and I know he's struggling, but part of me wonders if I should have handled it differently. Was I too harsh? Should I have given him one more chance? Or was this the only way to protect myself and my marriage? After the initial confrontation and Ryan being kicked out, the aftermath hit like a storm at first. I thought the hardest part would be keeping him out of the house, but honestly, it was the ripple effect through the family that turned everything into a nightmare. The first few days were tense. My wife, Sarah, was trying to balance supporting me while also dealing with her family's backlash. Her mom, Linda, called almost every day, guilt-tripping both of us. You have to understand. Ryan has no one. He's your family. Can't you just let it go? I tried to explain calmly that letting a thief live in our house isn't about being unkind. It's about boundaries and respect. Linda wouldn't hear it. She kept saying I was cold and controlling. Sarah tried to mediate, but it was exhausting. She wanted to protect her brother, but she also understood why I acted the way I did. I could see the conflict tearing her apart. Then came the extended family drama. Cousins and aunts started taking sides. My Facebook blew up with passive-aggressive posts, subtle digs at me disguised as concern for Ryan. One cousin, Mark, messaged me directly. You didn't have to be such a hard-ass. Family should stick together. I ignored it. But it stung. Sarah's brother, Ryan, wasn't just going to let this slide either. A few days after being kicked out, he tried to crash at our old neighbor's house who he knew casually, and used that as leverage. Texting Sarah, I don't know how you can let him do this to me. Mom's mad at me. Everyone's mad at me and you just stand there with him. Sarah had to block him on her phone to avoid constant harassment. Meanwhile, he started spreading half-truths, that I humiliated him in front of the family, that I was heartless, and that Sarah secretly agreed with him, but couldn't stand up to me. It was maddening. I had evidence. Text messages, the pawn receipt, even security camera footage showing him in my garage. But family politics complicated everything. The real challenge was Sarah's relationship with her mom. Linda was furious that I'd turned Sarah against her brother. Sarah, for her part, was tired of choosing sides. But she understood that protecting our home was non-negotiable. We ended up having long talks, sometimes crying together, sometimes just sitting in silence. We had to figure out how to present a united front without alienating everyone in her family. Work also became a pressure cooker. Sarah's shift hours were unpredictable, and I was working extra late on IT projects. We barely had time to eat together. And then when we did, the conversation would inevitably drift to Ryan. Sarah started suggesting family counseling. I was skeptical. Ryan had already broken trust. Could a few sessions really undo the damage? I had moments where I questioned myself. Was I too harsh? Could I have just confronted him differently? Could I have offered him a temporary loan instead of a kickout? But then I remembered the pawned guitar and the missing cash. Trust isn't something you get to test again after it's shattered one day. Linda showed up at our door unannounced. I was furious. She had crossed the line into harassment territory, but Sarah insisted I calm down. Linda wanted to talk it out, but it quickly devolved into accusations. She said I was destroying family bonds and driving Ryan to despair. I tried to stay calm, but after 10 minutes of verbal onslaught, I asked her to leave. Sarah quietly walked her out, and we locked the door around that same time. Ryan texted me a passive-aggressive note. "You'll regret this. You're never going to see the real me again, and your wife will blame you when she realizes it." My stomach turned. It was clear he wasn't thinking rationally, and I began seriously considering getting a restraining order if things escalated further. Despite all the tension, there were glimmers of normalcy. Sarah and I started establishing routines to make our home feel safe and stable again. We installed better locks, set clear rules about visitors, and even had a small family dinner with her brother's cousins who were supportive. That dinner was awkward at first, but we laughed, shared stories, and for the first time in weeks, it felt like our home was ours again. I also reached out to my own family for advice. My parents were supportive. They dealt with similar issues with cousins and knew the importance of setting boundaries. They reminded me that protecting your household and mental health isn't selfish. That helped me reaffirm that kicking Ryan out was not only necessary but the right choice. It's been about 3 months since the incident. Ryan has not tried to come back, though he occasionally sends Sarah passive-aggressive texts or emojis. We haven't responded. Sarah's relationship with her mom is still tense, but Linda has started backing off slightly, realizing she can't force us to let a thief live in our home. Reflecting on everything, I've learned a lot about boundaries, trust, and the complications of family loyalty. I still feel sad for Ryan. He's my wife's brother, after all, but I also know that love doesn't mean tolerating theft. Protecting our marriage, our home, and our mental well-being comes first. Some days I still feel guilty. Other days, I feel justified and resolute. Sarah and I are stronger as a couple for having weathered this storm together. We know that family drama will never stop entirely, but at least now, we're united and clear about where we stand in the end. I banned Ryan from my house, and I don't regret it. It was painful, messy, and emotionally exhausting, but necessary. It's been about 8 months since Ryan was banned from our house, and I wanted to give a proper final update because a lot has happened. And I feel like we finally reached some sort of closure. First, Ryan hasn't come near our home since he sent a couple of sporadic texts in the early weeks. Passive-aggressive jabs, complaints about being cut off, and even one weird apology that didn't really take accountability. We didn't respond to any of them. Sarah and I made a pact early on to avoid engaging, because anything we said would just fuel more drama. That decision ended up being huge and letting the tension fade. Sarah's mom, Linda, eventually realized she couldn't bully us into letting Ryan back. She's still protective of her kids, but over time she stopped calling multiple times a day or showing up unannounced. Sarah has started seeing her more selectively and sets boundaries that didn't exist before. Surprisingly, that seems to have calmed a lot of the family gossip. People realized we weren't budging, so the attempts to pressure us faded. Sarah's relationship with Ryan remains strained. She had to cut off most of her communication for her own mental health. I can tell she misses her brother on some level, but she also understands that forgiveness doesn't mean ignoring repeated bad behavior over time. She's shifted from guilt to acceptance. We talk about him occasionally, but it's factual, not emotional. As for me, I've learned a lot about trust and boundaries. The whole experience was exhausting, but it forced me to realize that being part of someone's family doesn't mean sacrificing my own peace of mind or safety. I feel more confident now in setting limits and sticking to them. On the bright side, this ordeal actually strengthened my marriage. Sarah and I learned how to navigate family pressure together, communicate more effectively under stress, and present a united front. It's been empowering to see that, despite the drama, we could protect our home and our relationship financially. There was some fallout. Ryan had pawned some of my stuff, which I eventually got back, but it took effort and patience emotionally. The family drama was tough, but slowly people have come to respect the boundaries we set. Even some of the more skeptical relatives admitted privately that I did the right thing. Looking back, banning Ryan was painful and stressful, but necessary. I don't regret it. He needed to understand that theft and disrespect have consequences, and Sarah and I needed to feel safe in our own home. It wasn't an easy lesson, and it cost us peace for a while, but in the end, it was the right decision for our family. To anyone in a similar situation, setting boundaries with family isn't selfish. Protecting your home, your mental health, and your marriage comes first. You can still care about family without tolerating repeated betrayal or abuse. That's the lesson we've learned the hard way. Or home finally feels like ours again. Sarah and I are stronger as a couple, and though Ryan is still out there somewhere, his chapter in our lives is mostly closed. Stories number 17. I 30F think my husband 31M hates me. I think he honestly hates and disrespects me. What happened? I'm exhausted writing this. I don't even know what to do anymore. My husband is a nightmare. He's incredibly sweet, affectionate and funny when he's in a good mood. The issue being he's in a good mood about 40% of the time, as in, he'll be amazing mon weds. But weds night Thursday he'll start being honestly awful. It could be caused by a random mood, a setback that seems so small to me, a $10 processing fee on a concert ticket, me not agreeing with something he says, me not understanding what he just said, etc. I mean, really, if this mood I don't know what else to cause it is coming on, anything will become the catalyst. He's been begging and demanding to buy a new car. But we just paid off his car and mine is almost there. We just moved to a new and expensive city and we don't know what our student loan payments will look like. We agreed we wouldn't buy new cars until we had some time to evaluate our financial situation. Well, he later decided he doesn't agree with that. This happens a lot. We agree to something, and we're good until he decides he doesn't agree and then starts having a temper tantrum, and he brings it up daily, whines, begs, and threatens to go buy one, as in, scoffs and goes, I'm just going to buy one and not tell you, ha ha ha. He's starting fights with me incessantly, which is what he does when he's mad. He retaliates by doing things like ignoring me, gaslighting me, and putting me down. When he drinks in these moods, he becomes evil. Actually evil. We could be having a perfectly good time and out of nowhere, he'll say something insanely fucking mean and then just go in from there, even if I don't react. I mean mean like him, suddenly going, I'm just not into you, or I just hate you out of nowhere. I don't react, but he'll just straight up have an argument with me by himself. I'll say, I love you and I don't want to fight, and he'll say, I don't care. I hate you. I'm not attracted to you. And then he'll give me the silent treatment for days, and then start to chill out and either start being nice all of a sudden, or actually apologize. He recently started saying weirdly misogynistic things when he's screaming at me. He started calling me really demeaning names and even saying I have an alpha or dominant personality and I'm trying to control him. He has all the control because he literally bullies me. He told me the other day in a fit of rage that he hates me. He's done with me, and he only has sex with me because he wants to have sex. He's been cold and mean since, no affection, awkward, and lots of put-downs and gaslighting. He won't answer something, I said. I'll ask if he heard me, and he'll say he already answered. I'll say no, that didn't happen, and he'll say, I promise you it did, you just weren't listening. But I was literally looking at his mouth, and I know he didn't say anything. Didn't always hate me like this. He didn't always disrespect me like this. We went through a hard time financially for a few years, and I paid all our expenses, and it honestly feels like that turned him into someone else. Before that, he had rages, but they were never this bad, and he would always try to fix things with me. During that financial time, things just went off the rails. Can we get back to a safe place? We've been together for a long time, and I just miss him. I used to love coming home with him, and now when we go out with people, I'm scared and sad to go home alone with him because I know he's going to be insanely mean and then go play video games or sulk and refuse to talk to me. Comments. Commenter 1. Have you heard of the book, Should I Stay or Should I Go? It's by Lundy. It can help you identify different patterns in your relationship, articulate what might be driving them underneath, and then decide how to move forward. May I suggest you consider the following. Is there a consistent pattern of disrespect, even when happy? Like he believes he knows better than you? Does it feel like there are double standards for your behavior versus his? Do you feel like your sense of fairness and reality is being distorted, and you can't trust your own thoughts? Commenter 2. My ex would do this like clockwork every weekend so he could blow up and leave the house all weekend. He was cheating on me, LOL. Commenter 3. Your husband is being emotionally manipulative and abusive. You need to leave. You asked something along the same lines a year ago, and it seems like things haven't gotten any better. Do you really want to deal with this for the rest of your life? Commenter 4. Get out, now. You are not safe with this person, and it will only get worse. It's also possible that your husband has bipolar or some Sort of manic disorder that needs to be medically addressed. Does his family have any sort of history of this? Reply, yes. 2 of his uncles are permanently hospitalized due to their mental disorders. One is schizophrenic and refuses to take his meds unless he's in a hospital setting. Stories number 18. I am a mother. My adult daughter is mentally ill and destroying me. I'm thinking of leaving her behind. I'm 54. My daughter is 31. She refuses therapy, mental evaluation, medication, or to admit anything's wrong. She manipulates, lies, explodes, and breaks boundaries. I walk on eggshells in my own home. Note: we share a small studio. She leaves food in weird places, damages the apartment, yells constantly, and twists every conversation into an attack. This morning she told me about the mess she left in the kitchen. It's me coping. I'll start heroin next. She says I hate her, that I never loved her. She weaponries a moment when I broke down something I regret, but it doesn't erase everything I've done for her for years. I took care of her, supported her through her attempt to become independent while she was in school for 5 years, which she failed multiple times. She's always been different, I suspect autism, but now she's spiraling to a whole other level. I've been her only person, the only one who cares and provides food and a roof over her head. Now, I'm planning to move out of state. I offered to bring her if she'd agree to basic help, or to go to Europe and stay with my mom for 3 months. She refused flatly. She ignores any attempt to have a conversation, but I can't live like this. It's destroying me. I feel like a hostage. If I go and something terrible happens, will I live with the guilt? I don't know. But if I stay, I'm already dying. I want to hear from people who've actually done this. Mothers, fathers, anyone. Did you leave? Did the guilt ever pass? Did the peace ever come? Comments. Commenter. My sister has the same issue with her 40-year-old son. Although she talks about autism, OCD, ADHD, etc., the bottom line is that he's a manipulative man-child who abuses my 70-year-old sister. She's had an order of protection against him a few times. His father won't let him stay with him. So my sister in her mobile home has to provide boarding and lodging and a home. You're still young enough to have a life. As cold as it sounds, you may have to, in some form, cut her loose if she's threatening heroin. That she needs to be in some type of facility to keep her from doing harm to herself. And as for the guilt ever passing, that may be the price that you need to pay for your freedom from this millstone. Commenter 2. I'm the brother of someone like this. She had always been manipulative, short-tempered, verbally abusive, etc. Eventually, she started doing meth and everything became worse. She was in and out of jail multiple times for things like domestic abuse and driving while impaired. Living with her throughout this time was like a waking nightmare. Not a single day went by where a meltdown didn't take place. My parents thought they were helping her by continuing to provide for her, but they were just enabling a drug addiction. There was a pretty clear break point where things got worse, and we later found out that was when she started doing hard drugs. She began stealing from me and my parents a lot during that time. If you've noticed a notable downturn in your daughter's behavior, it might be drug addiction. I moved out as soon as I could and my mental health improved tremendously. My parents grew resentful of my sister. My mom refused to kick her out, while my dad had wanted her out for years, causing him to also become resentful. Of my mom's stress has aged both of them terribly. Eventually, my sister decided to stop smoking meth. Apparently she had some horrible experience and checked herself into a hospital. Became completely sober after that. She's still a bit nuts, but not steal your shit and sell it on eBay nuts. Anyone that tells you you're obligated to stand by. Your daughter has never lived with a drug addict. If you choose to move away, there's no shame in that. Saving yourself when the person you're living with wants to destroy you is commendable. Commenter 3. My mom is like your daughter. She wreaked havoc on my grandmother and made her retirement years hell. My grandmother fell one day and my mom left her on the floor to die. This could be your future. Don't set yourself on fire just to keep her warm. You need to let her go on her own. My mother is no contact with me because I moved away, and she says I abandoned her. My grandmother actually told me to never move back or become my mother's caretaker. Commenter 4. Oh my. I thought my mother wrote this. She's 58, and her 32-year-old daughter still lives at home. My older sister, and she is just as you describe your daughter. The same situation. If you find a solution, I'd also love to know. Because my family is destroyed too. Stories number 19, AITJ. My fiancé told me, "This is it. Take it or leave it." So I gave him the ring back and told him to get out of my house. My fiancé Tom, 37M, and I, 28F, have been together 2 years. He moved into my house 6 months ago and proposed a month ago. I thought we were solid, but now I'm questioning everything. I inherited a fortune 3 years ago. It changed my life, but I live below my means. I work part-time as a teacher, travel, and have a non-profit in the works. I budget carefully, so the money lasts. Only my dad and sister know the full amount. When Tom moved in, I paid everything except most groceries. He wanted us to eventually buy a bigger house together so his dad could move in. I said no to living with in-laws, but suggested maybe a separate unit someday. He pushed back, but agreed we needed to discuss finances first. Tom earns yard 10K odd month and has 100K saved. I have millions invested, and about 40K month income from it. When I told him, he was shocked. He said, "If I have so much, why not just buy the house and cover everything?" I explained that just because I can doesn't mean I proposed separate finances, a joint account for expenses, and splitting costs proportionally to income. I also told him I wanted a prenup. That's when things blew up. He argued we should be equal partners, meaning I buy the house in both our names even if he doesn't contribute. We fought about this for days. Eventually he gave me an ultimatum. Final offer. You buy the house, we each own 50%. I'll sign the prenup. Take it or leave it. I asked if that meant breaking up if I said no. He hesitated but said yes. So I left it. I took off the ring, told him it was over, and that he needed to move out. He backtracked, saying he didn't really want to end things, just wanted me to agree. He accused me of throwing away our relationship for money. I told him he threw it away by demanding I fund our life and give him half of assets I work to protect. Now I'm wondering if I sabotaged my relationship. I love him, but I don't think it's fair to bankroll a grown man or accept ultimatums about my own money. Relevant comments. Commenter. The first dumb thing you did was tell him the amount of money that you have, 'cause even if y'all do stay together and eventually get married, he's going to be constantly thinking about that money and trying to find ways that he can get as much of it that he can. Y'all got to learn how to stop running your mouth so much. I understand that you kind of got to let your mate know a little bit, but he did not need to know exactly how much money. You have men can be just as greedy as women. Let a woman find out that a man's got a bunch of money, she's going to do everything in her power to get as much of it as she can. It's going to consume her. Men can be the same way. I think you breaking up with him was probably the best thing to do, 'cause your marriage will be all about money. Reply. I agree with you. I normally don't talk about money or share this kind of information, but since we were engaged, I honestly thought it was only fair for both of us to understand where we stood financially. I realize now that it might have been a mistake, but at the time I truly believed I was doing the right thing for our relationship. Commenter. 2. It was the right thing to do before getting married legally. When you get married, a lot of financial and legal relationships kick in. You have to lay your cards on the table before making this kind of commitment. Unfortunately, large amounts of money can make otherwise nice people crazy. I also came into money, and I'm lucky in that my husband is a reasonable and honorable person, as well as being the love of my life. No grasping or ultimatums. I'm sorry you had to go through that. OP, your fiancé has shown you who he is. The money revealed his greed. I'm so sorry, NTJ. Protect yourself from a lifetime of him caring more about your money than you. Good luck, OP. Sincerely, Edit. When we first started dating, he understandably questioned how I managed my lifestyle on a teaching salary. I explained that I had a small inheritance which allowed me to buy my house and have some savings to live on. I admit I may have been wrong to be vague, but at the time we were just starting to date, and I wasn't comfortable sharing all the details yet. My house is nice, but nothing extravagant, and during our relationship we always split expenses. 50-50 dates, trips, everything. When he moved in, I offered to keep covering the utilities since I was already paying them, and he would handle groceries. Things were fine until after we got engaged. I pushed for us to discuss everything openly before marriage, and we agreed on most things about his father moving in. This isn't something he wants right away. but he says eventually his dad would move in so he can take care of him. I adore his father, but I personally don't want to live with in-laws. His solution was that we should buy another house together, so he would feel like it's our home instead of him living in my house. I understood that perspective, but the new house would also have to be larger if his dad were to move in, which I'm not comfortable with. About finances. Initially, when we discussed buying another house, the plan was to contribute together. But once we started looking at what we could afford, we had to lay our finances on the table. When he found out my net worth, everything shifted. He said that if we split 50-50, we couldn't afford a bigger house, and since I had the means, I should buy the house myself, but it would still be our house. I told him that whatever amount he contributes would equal his share of equity in the property. Maybe I was naive, but until this point, I never saw signs of him being a gold digger. He never pressured me to pay for things and always split expenses fairly. That's why this change has been such a shock. Right now, I'm locked in my bedroom, and I told him he can sleep in the guest room tonight but that he needs to move out tomorrow. We haven't spoken since. That's where things stand. Update. This morning I woke up and Tom had made breakfast and asked if we could talk. He said things got out of control last night and he wanted to explain his side. He told me he was upset that I had lied about my finances and felt like I didn't trust him. He said the money difference made him feel that I would always have more power in the relationship, and that he might be vulnerable to financial abuse. He insisted that he wasn't interested in my money but wanted to feel that I would choose him over money. He admitted that he handled things badly, and should never have reacted the way he did or given me an ultimatum. He said he felt lost and frustrated. The only thing he emphasized really matters to him is his father eventually moving in. They're very close, and he wants to take care of him as he gets older. He apologized, said he didn't want to lose me, and told me he was willing to accept my conditions. I apologized for not being upfront about my inheritance, but I also told him I wasn't sure I could continue the relationship. His reaction last night felt entitled and manipulative, and I'm afraid he was showing me who he really is. I told him I love him, but I'm worried money will always be an issue between us. If he's already pushing for a house before marriage, what else might he push for later? I explained that the only way I could even consider continuing is if he agreed to a bulletproof prenup stating that in case of divorce, he only leaves with what he contributed. Nothing more. Agreeing to buy a house together, but his equity would reflect his contribution. Only I also suggested options like a guest house for his father or a condo nearby, but not living directly with us. Creating a monthly budget where we both contribute proportionally to our incomes into a joint account for shared expenses, while keeping our separate accounts for personal money. Going to counseling together. He agreed to all of this. Still, I told him I don't know if I can trust him again and need time to think. He agreed to go stay in a hotel for a few days to give us both space. Right now, I honestly don't know what to do. Part of me sees his point and wonders if he just overreacted, but another part of me is afraid that if I ignore his behavior, I'll be setting myself up for bigger problems in the future. I would really appreciate your help in figuring out where to go from here. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Change the lock of the house while he's at the hotel. I'm serious, like you said. He's untrustworthy at this point. If you have a sick family member, you and your family look after that person. Dragging someone you've been in a relationship for 6 months into this is very weird, inappropriate, inconsiderate, and enforcing of him. Reply. Thanks for the advice. I'm calling a locksmith to change all the locks just in case. We've been together for 2 years, but only 6 months living together. Commenter 2. Please don't ever move a man into your home again. I know you were engaged, but next time, look for a guy who owns his own home and has equity. I posted a few comments about people who marry to climb the property ladder. This guy has plenty of cash, or so he says, and could easily own a home or a condo somewhere, but he doesn't. He saw your nice home and figured he could marry you and get you to sell what you have, trade up, and he would be co-owner. Because once you marry and buy a new house, that's marital property. Don't do this again, please. You don't need to date men in your financial bracket, but find one who did what you have done. Invest in a home for himself. The other issue is the age gap. He's 37 and doesn't have his own home? Red flag. His dad is living on his own now, but he wants him to move in? Dad is probably in his 60s and may be capable of living on his own for 20 plus years. I have a friend who is 86, a cancer survivor, and living on her own just fine. Find a man who shares your values and who is no more than 4 to 5 years older. 30-32 is a good range. If he doesn't own a house or condo, he's not for you because you need someone who is your equal. Not in terms of net worth, but in terms of financial values. Find a guy who wouldn't quit his job even if he won the lottery. High school football coach, doctor, university scientist. Look at values. The lottery is $18 billion today, and if I won it, I would still keep my job because I love my work. Stories number 20. Testifying against my husband. I testified at his preliminary hearing last Monday. He's my husband. It was my first time seeing him in 6 months. He was arrested in May and has been held without bond ever since. My plan was to not look at him at all, just keep my eyes down or on the prosecutor. But right away, they asked me to identify him in the courtroom. I froze. I could see an orange jumpsuit in the corner of my eye, but I didn't want to look. After a few seconds I did, and I broke down in tears. "Yes, that is him," I said. The questioning from the prosecutor was very uncomfortable, but didn't take too long, and I pretty much expected those were the questions she would ask. But when it was time for the cross-examination, it was brutal. He asked SK many questions, kept asking the same question in different ways to try to get me to slip up. Brought up things that were very embarrassing to me. Asked if I liked kinky sex. Asked why I didn't leave sooner. Why I didn't go to the hospital. If he physically forced me to the bed. No, but he held me down. How long was he on top of you? I don't remember. What happened after? I don't remember. Isn't it true that you enjoy rough sex? When it's consensual? Did you say no? I screamed no, I was crying. Do you drink alcohol? Yes. Were you drunk during these incidents? No, I don't think so. Maybe once, I can't remember. There were so many questions asking if I was jealous of another girl he was interested in. I guess to set up a potential motive for me wanting revenge. My therapist warned me about not self-gaslighting. I wasn't even the one who called it rape at first. Everyone I eventually told me to call the police. I didn't even want to, but I didn't want him to keep hurting people. But the defense attorney did a good job or creating doubt in me anyway. So many things I could have done differently. Maybe it wasn't really rape. Maybe my husband has been suffering in jail for 4 months because I made a mistake. Or I misunderstood. The thing is, he already admitted it. The police have a recorded phone call where he said the words, "I'm sorry for raping you." When he was arrested, he nodded his head when the police asked if what I said was true. So why are they still putting me through all of this? Why are they trying to make me look crazy or vengeful or a pervert who likes rough sex? I thought I could do this. If there isn't a plea deal, I will have to go through all of this again at trial, but probably even worse. What if I'm wrong? What if I imagined it all? But then why the panic attacks? The flashbacks? Why was I diagnosed with PTSD? You don't get PTSD from consensual sex, right? Comments. Commenter 1. You didn't imagine it. You aren't wrong. The system is set up against victims, and having to retell your story and defend yourself under cross-examination is so re-traumatizing that many victims avoid seeking justice altogether. But you did it, and you are a fucking badass. For getting through it. Commenter 2. I'm so sorry you had to go through this. The prosecuting attorney really should have prepared you better for the brutal questioning, because it's honestly standard practice. The defense attorney is doing the job as assigned. Nothing said to you today is outside the norm in court, but it's absolutely awful, traumatic, and not fair at all. Not much about justice for rape is fair for victims. I'm truly sorry. Is there a victim advocate you can talk to about this? For therapy or better preparation, or both? Commenter 3. It sounds like you've survived some really terrible things at the hands of someone who should care for you the most. A defending attorney's whole job is to sow doubt. Ignore anything they said to you. Please call your therapist emergency number if they have one. You need someone who knows and supports you in your corner. I don't think Reddit is qualified to handle this. Edit. Wrong lawyer title. Commenter 4. Give yourself some time to decompress from the very real trauma you just experienced. Not only did you have to see your attacker in person, which is bound to be upsetting in and of itself, but you had to relive one of the worst things you've ever gone through, publicly and repeatedly being forced to describe the experience, which is also a trauma unto itself. Then you are subjected to cross-examination by someone whose job is literally to create doubt, raise any pretext to absolve your husband of the blame for his actions, and to make you seem either untrustworthy as a witness or deserving of what happened to you, victim blaming as a defense. Please try to remember that nothing the defense attorney says is about getting to the truth of what happened. Your husband knows and admitted that he raped you, so that is not in question as to what actually happened. The defense attorney is just trying to find a way to get your husband the best possible deal, or to try to twist things so that he's not considered criminally liable for what he did. His defense has nothing to do with truth and everything to do with manipulating the outcome of the judicial process. Do whatever you need to do to take care of yourself and feel safe. Maybe that's reaching out to your therapist or writing down everything that's surfaced. Maybe it's screaming into a pillow and cranking up angry girl power music. Maybe it's having a friend or family member over to comfort you. Maybe it's checking out mentally with a hot bath followed by several episodes of a comfort TV show. Whatever helps you emotionally regulate and feel more centered and calm is what you need to do. Give yourself grace and love, because anyone who just went through what you did would deserve some gentle kindness and loving care. You did something very brave today, and you have survived it. One more step forward that you'll hopefully be proud of yourself for doing and feel relieved about later. This internet stranger is amazed by your strength and courage and hopes you'll find your footing and find some peace soon. Hugs to you. Stories number 21. Aita, for refusing to pump for my mill, so I am a first-time mom. And this whole experience has been very overwhelming for me. My wonderful baby just hit 3 months and is officially no longer a newborn. I have been lucky enough that I have good supply, so my baby girl is exclusively breastfeed, except for any excess that we use when my husband does her night feeds. I have made it very clear to most of our friends and family that I don't want anyone but me or my husband feeding her. My MIL has been slightly annoyed, bordering on judgmental about this, but has mostly kept her mouth shut. We have never had any issues in the past, so I just chalked it up to her wanting to bond with the baby. I might allow it when she's older, but for now I'm not comfortable with anyone else doing it. So we were over at my in-sil house for her son's birthday, and while all the cousins and husbands played outside, me and all the ladies sat inside playing pass the baby. She ends up in my Emil arms and begins to fuss and make her hungry cry. I stood up and went to take her before she pulled her back and told me to go make a bottle. I told her no, that I would go to the guest room and feed her. My sister-in-law stood to and said she had some formula and would make it for me. I refused again and quickly took my baby, saying she's never had formula and I don't want her to be sick. My male sighs and rolls her eyes and asks, "Why don't you just pump some so I can feed my baby?" I must have been visibly horrified, because one of my other SELs stood and tried to guide me away by my shoulder. I took her to the other room to feed her and sat in there with her for the rest of the party. The sister-in-law whose party it was came to find me. I almost hit her when she said, "Don't you think it's a little selfish you won't let mom feed the baby? You could have just pumped a couple ounces for her." I said I will never pump anything for anyone because I'm not a cow, and she's my baby. She declared I was being bitchy and walked away. My husband doesn't know this is all happening, but on the ride home, his mother and 2 of the other wives texted me to tell me it was unfair to hog my baby, and to make it so she couldn't bond with anyone else, and that I should have just pumped before I came, so I didn't have to hide her away. My mill specifically said that I was being so selfish with her only granddaughter, and it wasn't fair to her that she couldn't even feed her baby. I just texted back that it wasn't her baby, and put my phone on Do Not Disturb. I know I should tell my husband, but I don't want to add more strain, as he and his mother are still trying to heal their relationship from when they had a big fight a couple years ago. I don't want to cause drama, but I'm starting to feel very guilty, especially since I'm still getting tons of texts about how cruel I'm being. Am I the AH for refusing to pump for my MIL? Edit. Small bit of context. My little sister choked whilst being fed by our great aunt and almost died. She hadn't been holding her properly, and my sister had to be rushed to the hospital. I was very young, but the memory is still very fresh in my mind. Even when my husband is feeding our baby, I never want my baby to be unsafe while being fed, and I worry about other people feeding her because of this. Update. Aita, for refusing to pump for my milk. So, after everyone's suggestions, I decided I was going to talk to my husband when he go home from work. I put baby down to sleep before initially posting, and I posted because of all the messages from Mael and Sills. Apparently his oldest brother's wife had called him today at work and told him what my mother had said and what the other wives had said when I left the room. We sat at the kitchen table and I had him read the messages from start to finish. He was upset with me at first for keeping it from him, then hugged me and said he hated that I had to go through this alone. He went upstairs to call his mother. He told me after about 10 minutes on the phone that until baby is a year, Mill will have minimal contact, as well as his sister not being allowed around the baby either. He told me to block both their numbers for the time being, and so I did. He also told me that their fight 2 years ago was over, his mother trying to get him back with his ex, right after he proposed to me, and that's why they stopped talking for the rest of that year. He said he told his mother that if she pushes for more next time, we give her an opportunity, that it would be her last chance at a granddaughter. This has all progressed so quickly, and everyone was right about talking to my husband. I wish I had gone right to him when it happened, but I was so worried to put more strain. Thank you for all the advice. Update. Aita, for refusing to pump for my mill hubby. Got home early tonight and we checked my phone together. Messages totaled out to Mill 14 voicemail, 23 calls, 67 texts. Sill 8 Facebook messages, 4 phone calls, 17 texts file, but clearly from Mill. 4 more voicemail, 5 calls, and 31 texts. I let my husband handle them as I didn't feel like reading them while already feeling so stressed about it. Afterwards he took about an hour to calm down. In the basement. The messages, from what little he did feel comfortable telling me, where about how I was tearing the family apart with my selfish behavior, and why do I even bring baby around if I don't want them bonding with her. The one voicemail was 20 or so minutes long, and it was apparently just her talking about how all the kids are both BF and formula fed, so grandma can help, and I'm depriving myself of her assistance. I heard part of her rant saying how she knows best because she had 6 kids on 7th-8 at the same time, and that me being so particular is going to make other babies impossible for me, which is unfair because she wants 2 granddaughters, and I'm the only one that can give them to her. My girl is the first girl baby, and all 12 of her cousins are boys. Husband made one phone call and told her if she is going to just drain my phone battery, she will permanently blocked from my phone. I called my OB today to talk about possibly getting a consult for a therapist, to talk about my potential PPA. While I'm sure this situation certainly is adding to it, I want to be as healthy as I can for my baby. A few of my friends visited today and gave me very similar advice on the situation.